Chapter 1301 Approach of the Great Era. Central Continent, Hidden Dragon Cave. Greetings to Superior Immortal from Heavenly Court. 2 GU Immortals knelt on the ground. One old and one young. A grandfather and a grandson. They were GU Immortals from Wind Cloud Manor. The young GU Immortal was Feng Chanzi, while the elderly man was Old Man Bei Feng, with rank 8 cultivation level. Among the 10 great ancient sects of Central Continent, he was famous, and without any mishaps, he would have become a member of Heavenly Court already. It was not easy or normal to become a member of Heavenly Court. Rank 8 cultivation level was not enough, they had to be elites among rank 8s. This standard had never been lowered since Heavenly Court was created. Heavenly Court did not waver in this aspect, too few was better than too many. And this Old Man Bei Feng was now kneeling on the ground, expressing his reverence. The person he was kneeling to was an extremely weak old man, he was shaking as if a gust of wind could blow him away. But this old man was not ordinary, he had a huge origin, he left a deep mark in Heavenly Court's history. He was Duke Long. Get up, bring me inside. Duke Long said plainly. Yes, Old Man Bei Feng acknowledged. A moment later, Duke Long came to the deepest part of Hidden Dragon Cave. This was a deep earth trench, it was larger than the earth trench that Northern Plains Zombie Alliance had. It was possible to stuff thousands of cities into it easily. Duke Long and Old Man Bei Feng were tiny like dust specks compared to it. From their view, the entire earth trench was covered in darkness, this darkness was so deep that one could not see through it. Rumble. Suddenly, the entire earth trench started shaking intensely. The two sides of the earth trench started to have falling rocks. The earthquake caused incredible sound waves that would make people shell-shocked. Old Man Bei Feng's expression changed, he quickly used the Immortal GU in his Immortal aperture. Suddenly, bright lights shone as countless auroras and flowing water weaved together dazzlingly. There was actually a huge super GU formation here. In contrast to this GU formation, the one that surrounded Southern Border's Dream Realm was just a kitten compared to an elephant. Old Man Bei Feng controlled the GU formation, his expression quickly changed as his forehead was covered in sweat. The commotion is so huge. As a great rank 8 GU Immortal, he was actually feeling difficulty now. This super GU formation was suppressing a terrifying life form, Old Man Bei Feng could only barely deal with it using the super GU formation. He, it seems that after so many years, you are still so lively. Di Zhang Sheng. At this time, Duke Long spoke plainly. Roar. At the next moment, an overwhelming dragon roar filled the entire earth trench. The super GU formation's aurora lights were dispersing, flowing water was disrupted. Old Man Bei Feng's forehead was dripping with sweat, he thought, this is after the super GU formation's isolation, the volume is still so loud. If I have to face this evil dragon directly, I am afraid. Duke Long was unmoved, he assessed, it seems your temper has not changed, you are still so feisty. Accursed old man. This time, a voice came from inside the GU formation. The voice was just as loud. At the next moment, a huge dragon head appeared from within the aurora light and flowing water. It was Evil Dragon, Di Zhang Sheng. This immemorial desolate beast had a huge origin, it was a legendary immemorial desolate beast created from endless hatred, anger, and grudges, all these negatives emotions in Central Continent's earth veins. It was born of nature, because it was created from the collective negative emotions of humans. After it was born, it had intelligence that matched humans. Initially, it could only roar and growl, but after learning, it could use Hope GU to awaken its aperture, it learned human language, and for some time, it turned into a human and tried to master GU Immortal methods. For some time, it wreaked havoc in Central Continent, it caused great distress and chaos in the world. But eventually, it was suppressed by Duke Long. It was suppressed for countless years. But Heavenly Court could not kill it. Because it was formed from the negative emotions of humans. As long as humanity still flourished, the evil dragon would continue to grow stronger every day. Even if its body was destroyed or completely decimated. Soon, it would form from new earth veins, and continue to cause chaos in the world. That was why Heavenly Court used a super GU formation to suppress this evil dragon. The people guarding the place were rotated from time to time. This time, Feng Chanzi sold immortal materials for his own profits, he was punished to guard Hidden Dragon Cave. And his grandpa knew that he could not do this alone, so he gave up the chance to join Heavenly Court and came to look after this evil dragon. After the evil dragon saw Duke Long, it became incredibly furious. The meeting of enemies was filled with animosity. Why are you roaring and growling, you cannot escape from this prison. Duke Long said plainly. Di Zhang Sheng heard this and no longer raged, it laughed, Ha ha ha, I almost forgot. Accursed old man, you are going to die soon. Your lifespan is reaching its limit, you only have one last chance of extending your life. Even lifespan GU cannot save you. Haha, this is hilarious, so what if you suppressed me? I am alive, while you are dying. Duke Long nodded. You are right. Sometimes, I envy you, you have a long lifespan from birth, you innately have longevity. This might be the last time we meet, let me borrow 10 years of life from you. Saying this, Duke Long sucked in a breath. Old man Bei Feng was shocked to find out that as the guardian, he instantly lost control of this GU formation. Di Zhangsheng was suppressed by Duke Long, this super GU formation was created by Duke Long personally. Duke Long was the true owner of this super GU formation. Roar! Di Zhangsheng let out a painful cry. Duke Long was still sucking. Old man Bei Feng could not tell what Duke Long was actually sucking. It seemed to be a sort of life essence that could not be seen with the naked eye, it was forcefully extracted from Di Zhangsheng's body, sucked into Duke Long's own body. It seems that this super GU formation is not purely for suppressing Di Zhangsheng, it has this kind of effect. Old man Bei Feng had an epiphany. During the process of sucking, Duke Long's body inflated like a balloon from its twig-like appearance. His pale yellow ragged face faded to a normal color. His pale white hair also turned dark. He was hunchbacked earlier and had fragile bones that emitted cracking sounds, but it had straightened now. Most evidently, the pair of horns on his head were originally shriveled like two lumps of meat, but now, they shined with a metallic luster, piercing towards the sky. Bam! His peak rank 8 aura burst out like an invisible wall, pushing outwards. Old man Bei Feng took a step back uncontrollably, looking at Duke Long's majestic background, he had a sense of admiration in his heart. In contrast to Duke Long was evil dragon Di Zhangsheng. It said in a hoarse voice, "Damned old man, that is merely 10 years of lifespan. It's like I'm giving a pool of piss to you. Ha ha ha." It was still laughing, but it was very weak now. Duke Long clenched his fists, saying nonchalantly, "Evil dragon, you do not understand, how can I, Duke Long, fear death? I woke up this time to make up for my previous mistake. 10 years is more than enough." "Enough for, what are you trying to do?" Evil dragon asked. "What else? The great era is coming," Duke Long said with deep meaning. "Great era, great era. Don't tell me, the earth veins will merge, the regional walls will vanish, and the 5 regions will become one. Wait, accursed old man, don't go, tell me everything." Di Zhangsheng shouted. But Duke Long sneered, why would he care about a captive? He turned around and left Hidden Dragon Cave without any hesitation. Southern border, a nameless place. River water was surging. This was a tributary of the River of Time. Ying Wuxie and the rest had been waiting by the riverside for a long time. A figure emerged from the tributary of the River of Time. "Quick, let's quickly give Lord a helping hand." Ying Wuxie saw this and shouted. He Lu Lan and Bai Ningbing worked together beside him, activating the GU formation. Under the effect of the GU formation, Purple Mountain True Monarch escaped from the tributary of the River of Time. He was like a drowning person, he barely managed to crawl ashore, he breathed roughly and was soaked to the bones. Purple Mountain True Monarch actually managed to return safely after entering the River of Time. Bai Ningbing was expressionless, but she was shocked on the inside. "Lord, did you succeed?" Seeing Purple Mountain True Monarch regain his composure, Ying Wuxie asked this. Purple Mountain True Monarch nodded. "I went into the Red Lotus and interacted with that will, my gains were phenomenal." "Is that so?" Ying Wuxie was overjoyed. But Purple Mountain True Monarch had a solemn expression. "I used Red Lotus, True Inheritance to observe the past and future. Before Fang Yuan was reborn, our shadow sect had succeeded, we delayed the Great Era by 500 years, we exterminated the future Great Dream Immortal Venerable before she matured, we even had Heavenly Court completely under our control. It is a pity that Fang Yuan changed everything. Shadow sect cannot stop it anymore, the Great Era is coming." Ying Wuxie had an extremely shocked expression. Bai Ningbing and He Lu Lan looked at each other, feeling puzzled. The former asked coldly, "What is the Great Era?" Ying Wuxie breathed in deeply and answered, "The earth veins will merge, the regional walls will vanish, the 5 regions will become one, and Great Dream becomes venerable. This is the Great Era." He Lu Lan and Bai Ningbing were stunned. At the same time, Fang Yuan went back to southern border using Wu Yihai's appearance, he was back in Wu Clan. "I am finally back. This time, I must absorb the dream realm and go all out in raising my attainment levels. There is enough time. After 500 years, during the 5 regions chaotic war, I might become a great grand master of every path already." I am looking forward to it. Chapter 1302, Divination Tortoise Transformation. Southern Border, Wu Clan. Fang Yuan entered Southern Border, using Wu Yihai's appearance. He went all the way back to Wu Clan's headquarters. Knowing that he was back, Wu Clan's current first supreme elder, Wu Yong, summoned him. Brother, these are the immortal GU that I borrowed from the clan, I am returning them now. Fang Yuan returned the immortal GU in his hands. Wu Yong received them and smiled as he sat in the main seat. Was your journey to Eastern Sea fruitful? Every GU immortal had their own secrets, especially someone with a special status like Wu Yihai. Wu Yong could not probe excessively. His question was really just small talk. I had great gains. Fang Yuan showed some joy on his face, it was very realistic. That is good. Wu Yong nodded. He would not be able to imagine how great Fang Yuan's gains were. After leaving Southern Border, Fang Yuan chased after Shadow Sect's remnant forces. Even though he did not succeed in killing them, his gains were huge. Not only did Fang Yuan obtain Perseverance Immortal GU and become the Reverse Flow River Lord, his battle strength surged and he could go unscathed against rank 8 GU immortals. Lu Guanyi's reputation was renowned in the entire world. Furthermore, while returning, he participated in an Eastern Sea trading convention. He obtained Divination Tortoise Shell Immortal GU and rank 6 Day GU. Thank you for the concern, brother. I wonder when can I return to the GU formation to cultivate. Please arrange it for me. Fang Yuan said with a polite and humble tone. Wu Yong was very satisfied with Fang Yuan's performance. These last days, he had control of Wu Clan. Because Fang Yuan backed down, there were few obstacles in Wu Clan. He successfully took over the clan and obtained the highest authority. Right now, Wu Yong was already different from when he first took over. He was more composed and grand, he gave off an indomitable aura, he had great authority. He was very happy about Fang Yuan's attitude. Clans were different from sects, bloodline was very important. Wu Yihai's status in Wu Clan made him very special among Wu Clan's GU immortals. In terms of bloodline, he was solely inferior to Wu Yong, and was above everyone else. Wu Yihai wanted to cultivate in seclusion, Wu Yong was sure to satisfy it. Thus, he agreed, return to your residence and rest first. I will arrange this, in a few days, it will be ready. Thank you, brother, I will take my leave. Fang Yuan left after seeing that his objective was achieved. He had a home in Wu Clan. When he first joined Wu Clan, he was assigned by Wu Clan to live on this bare mountain. Wu Yong is starting to be in control of Wu Clan. Wu Yihai's identity is very sensitive. If he worked with an ambitious clan like Chao Clan, to create lots of problems, Wu Yong would have a huge headache. Thus, to play safe, Wu Yong would not let Wu Yihai roam around and make contributions for the clan, and increase his reputation. Other Wu Clan GU immortals were fine, but Wu Yihai was not. Or rather, not for now. Wu Dushu had just died, Wu Yong was in control of Wu Clan but it was not a stable position. Fang Yuan was very aware of Wu Clan's situation. He was not worried that he would be unable to return to the Super GU formation. While staying on the mountain, he cultivated. But his immortal aperture could not be placed down. Not to mention opening the immortal aperture's entrance and taking in heaven and earth chi. My sovereign immortal aperture's foundation is too deep. Each time it absorbs heaven and earth chi, the commotion is huge, winds would surge and clouds would move. But reverse flow river really consumes a lot of heaven and earth chi. It seems that I will need to go to Yitian mountain later to take in heaven and earth chi, only by replenishing it will I sustain the sovereign immortal aperture and prevent my foundation from falling. This was a form of burden. But it was a good one. Even though Wu Yong asked him to rest, Fang Yuan did not rest. He continued to cultivate, he was fighting against time. During this period, many GU immortals from the clan came to visit Wu Yihai, who had a special status, but Fang Yuan rejected them all. This attitude made Wu Yong very pleased. He felt that Wu Yihai was not trying to interfere in the clan affairs. Thus, he gave Fang Yuan a lot of immortal materials under his own name. Not only was he trying to reward and appeal to him, he was also trying to gain reputation for being a caring brother. At the peak of the mountain, Fang Yuan, who was inside his huge house, had turned into a tortoise. This tortoise was as large as a house, it was black and had a thick and tough shell, there were countless markings on its shell, it was difficult to observe but it had a certain order. It was a divination tortoise. This ancient desolate beast was associated with wisdom path. After transforming, Fang Yuan's transformation path Dao marks turned into wisdom path. With his wisdom path Dao mark accumulation, there was a huge quantitative change. With this foundation, Fang Yuan could use wisdom path deduction methods with greater efficiency. It was at least several times or even more than 10 times that of before. Simply divination tortoise shell immortal GU, in terms of the GU worm itself, it could not compare to attitude GU or wisdom sword immortal GU, even flying sword, sword escape, and dragon breath were better than it. But regarding Fang Yuan, it was extremely useful. Suddenly, a brilliant light shined in the divination tortoise's eyes. After 10 or so days of hard work, I finally succeeded in deducing the killer move, divination tortoise transformation. At Fang Yuan's will, he turned back to human. Next, he tried to use the newly completed divination tortoise transformation killer move. Once, twice, thrice. After more than 10 times, he finally finished making his adjustments. A new divination tortoise transformation. He added in a lot of transformation path mortal GU, like tortoise head GU, tortoise tail GU, tortoise leg GU, and others. There were also some wisdom path GU worms, to increase the divination tortoise's ability to block deductions, until Fang Yuan reached his limits. There were also many defensive GU worms. Of course, there were only 2 cores. One was rank 7 divination tortoise shell immortal GU, the other was change form immortal GU. The brand new divination tortoise was larger than before, it was lifelike like an actual ancient desolate beast divination tortoise. Especially the tortoise shell, countless Tao marks were weaved together in a criss-crossing fashion, there were an enormous number of them. Very good, I have reached my current limit. Fang Yuan experimented and felt very pleased. This was all thanks to his wisdom path and transformation path grandmaster attainment levels. Deducing these killer moves was as simple as drinking water. Similar to the ancient sword dragon transformation, which combined transformation path and sword path. This divination tortoise transformation was the combination of transformation path and wisdom path. And now, Fang Yuan had a new fighting method. It was not an incomplete version like before, this could be fully used in battle. And most crucially, the killer moves ancient sword dragon transformation, reverse flow protection seal, and myriad self could not be used in battle, but this divination tortoise transformation covered the flaw, it solved Fang Yuan's current problem. Fang Yuan stopped the transformation and rested to regain his mental energy. He closed his eyes and his mind entered sovereign immortal aperture. Landscape as before, the rank 6 immortal GU was used, targeting reverse flow river in the immortal aperture. Red date immortal essence was expended rapidly, while reverse flow river started to produce river water under the power of landscape as before. The efficiency is too low. Fang Yuan sighed. This was not his first experiment, he was quite disappointed. Landscape as before immortal GU, even though it was effective on reverse flow river, the effect was mild. This formed a clear contrast to Luopo Valley and Danghun Mountain. Why is it that using landscape as before on Danghun Mountain and Luopo Valley had such incredible effects, but on reverse flow river, it barely works? Fang Yuan was puzzled. Was reverse flow river more special than the other 2 secluded domains of heaven and earth? What other reasons were there? If he could repair reverse flow river immediately, that would be great. He would have an unceasing supply of reverse flow river's water. But reality was less than perfect for Fang Yuan. Wait, Danghun Mountain and Luopo Valley were once in the possession of Spectral Soul Demon Venerable. And Spectral Soul Demon Venerable was the creator of Sovereign Immortal Fetus GU. Maybe these 2 secluded domains of heaven and earth were modified by Shadow Sect, just like how He Lu Lan and the others could use Immortal GU of other paths without being restricted by Tao marks. Fang Yuan had a flash of inspiration. His guess was right. Not only did Shadow Sect have a method to allow GU immortals to cultivate other paths without facing conflicting Tao marks, they could also modify secluded domains of heaven and earth, to allow immortal GU of certain paths to be very effective on the secluded domains of heaven and earth and not face conflicts from Tao marks. And Time Path immortal GU were fully effective on Danghun Mountain and Luopo Valley, they would not be resisted by the vast number of soul path Tao marks in them. This was because landscape as before and man as before belonged to Shadow Sect. They were passed to Tai by Yun Sheng through Purple Mountain True Monarch. As for Reverse Flow River, Shadow Sect did not have it, they had no interest in this river either. Thus, Reverse Flow River was not modified. When Fang Yuan used landscape as before on Reverse Flow River, it was weakened by its vast number of Tao marks, and had little effect. And this was already because Fang Yuan was the Reverse Flow River Lord, otherwise, landscape as before's effect would be reflected upon him. Reverse Flow River lost a lot of water, the rank 8 existences depleted a good amount. But thankfully, it is recovering, even though the speed is very slow. Can I use Reverse Flow Protection Seal to resist immemorial year beasts? Fang Yuan shook his head. Using reverse flow river, he could at most defend himself. If an immemorial year beast tried to destroy the immortal aperture, he could do nothing against it. He thought about this because Fang Yuan was concerned about the sealed rank 8 immortal GU, years flow like water. Even though his battle strength surged greatly, Fang Yuan was still unable to unseal years flow like water currently. Like this, Fang Yuan cultivated silently, waiting for Wu Yong's arrangement for returning to the giant dream realm. But a few days later, a minor mishap occurred. Chapter 1303, Divination Tortoise's Power. Southern Border, Wu Clan. In the hall, Fang Yuan, Wu Yong, and another GU immortal were present. He had a tall body, he wore a black and white coat, he had a long beard that extended downwards to his chest. His eyes were slim and long, a mysterious light was hidden in them, his body was covered in mist. Wu Clan GU Immortal, Wu Yubo, a prideful person with peak rank 7 battle strength, it was only slightly lower than old Treeman Bada. GU Immortal Yan Huang challenged Yubo, the reality is that Sha Clan is after Moon Bowl. This place produces Moon Path GU worms, it is one of the most important resource points of our clan, we cannot lose. Wu Yong said. Since I am going, there is no need to worry. If I can defeat Yan Huang twice, I can win a third time. Wu Yubo said coldly. Moon Bowl was not a bowl, it was a valley. But this valley had a peculiar shape, resembling a bowl, and because it produced Moon Path GU worms, people called it Moon Bowl. Moon Bowl had a village in it. But when Wu Clan expanded, in order to take over Moon Bowl, they eradicated this village. There was a GU immortal in this village, he was known as Immortal Yan Huang. Wu Clan sent out Wu Yubo and defeated him. Immortal Yan Huang could not defeat them and had to escape in tears, abandoning his home. Wu Clan was a righteous path clan, they needed a proper reason to take over Moon Bowl, they could not kill Immortal Yan Huang directly. This was the rules of the righteous path. Immortal Yan Huang left with hatred, to take revenge, he hid his identity and practiced his killer moves, but he still lost to Wu Yubo a second time. After Wu Clan learned of his whereabouts, they knew that this enmity was unresolvable, they gathered GU immortals to assassinate Immortal Yan Huang. But at the crucial moment, Immortal Yan Huang was saved by an unknown force. Wu Clan wanted to pursue it, but at that time, Wu Dushu died, Wu Clan was in chaos and Wu Yong had just taken over, he needed to suppress the situation. This gave Immortal Yan Huang some time to recover. Until now, a few days ago, Immortal Yan Huang sent a challenge to Wu Yubo with Moon Bowl as the stake. Whoever wins would obtain Moon Bowl. Wu Clan was the #1 super force in Southern Border, how could they not accept it? But Wu Yong's worry was that Immortal Yan Huang was here after joining Sha Clan, a super force, he was no longer all alone. This meant that the mysterious force which helped Immortal Yan Huang earlier was undoubtedly Sha Clan. On the surface, this was Immortal Yan Huang challenging Wu Yubo. But the truth was, this matter was significant, it was the contest of two super forces. This challenge had been spread widely, the attention of many Southern Border forces and GU immortal experts were drawn to it. After Wu Dushu died, even though Wu Clan was still the #1 force, its reputation had fallen. Sha Clan was the first challenger of Wu Clan's dominance. If Wu Clan lost this, the other clans would smell weakness and everyone would be tempted to target Wu Clan, there would be huge problems. This was Wu Yong's worry. Immortal Yan Huang's open challenge was now the first hurdle of Wu Yong's rule. Yubo, don't be careless, you know how important this is for our clan. Wu Yong sighed. That Yan Huang joined Sha Clan, he is given aid by them, they must have ill intentions and be amply prepared this time if they are challenging you. First Supreme Elder, you only need to wait for good news. Wu Yubo had a nonchalant expression, he glanced at Fang Yuan and said, in my opinion, we don't need to bring so many people. This Yan Huang is just a loser, I can easily capture him. We should play safe, my brother is skilled in 3 transformations, he is a rank 7 expert, with him guarding you, I can rest assured. Wu Yong said. Wu Clan had a huge territory, even though there were many Wu Clan GU immortals, they were split up in many places, they lacked manpower. Originally, Wu Yong was planning to send Fang Yuan to the Super GU formation. But now that this happened, Wu Yong had to send Fang Yuan to guard Wu Yubo. After all, Immortal Yan Huang was not alone, he was accompanied by Sha Clan GU Immortal Sha Qing Kang. Fang Yuan had joined Wu Clan, although he could reject this, there was no harm in going, Fang Yuan agreed. This was a good task, he only needed to stay on guard, after it was over, the clan would reward him for the help. Wu Yubo did not care, but Wu Yong insisted on it, he could not reject it. This matter was decided. A few days later, Wu Yubo went to the designated location with Fang Yuan. Over there, Sha Qingkang and Immortal Yan Huang were waiting already. Immortal Yan Huang looked like a middle-aged GU Immortal. He had a mature expression and ordinary appearance. After seeing Wu Yubo, his expression changed. He stared with wide-opened eyes, like they were spewing fire. But that Sha Qingkang had a special disposition. His body stood tall and straight like a mountain peak. He had a square face and white hair. Especially his beard, it was tough like needles. His eyes were shining brightly. Wu Yubo, you destroyed my village and killed my descendants. I will return all this humiliation to you today. Immortal Yan Huang growled. Wu Yubo sneered. Simply slander. I did that to find traces of blood path and uphold justice, eliminating evil for this world. You are not a righteous person, and you dare to smear me, you deserve death. The two fought immediately. Fang Yuan and Sha Qingkang watched at the two ends of the battlefield, staying on guard for their respective GU immortals. There was nothing to say, everyone knew the real reason, but the righteous path had to put a front of righteousness over their intentions. Immortal Yan Huang was a fire and earth path dual cultivator. On one hand, his flames were like rising dragons, emitting tremendous heat. On the other hand, rocks were rumbling, there was a huge commotion. Meanwhile, Wu Yubo cultivated water path. He moved like falling leaves, he was grand and swift, there was grace in his actions. His body was covered in water vapor, there was drizzle from the sky, but the rain was able to dissolve all of Immortal Yan Huang's flames and rocks. Evidently, Wu Yubo had the upper hand. However, the battle had just started, both sides were probing, they had not used their Immortal GU or Immortal Killer moves yet. Fang Yuan watched as he investigated the surroundings. He was defending against Sha Qingkang, in case he used any sneak attacks. Sha Qingkang seemed very relaxed. He looked at Fang Yuan at times, smiling when his gaze met with Fang Yuan's eyes. This made Fang Yuan feel uneasy. Sha Qingkang was a wisdom path GU immortal. He was famous in southern border. He was a high-level character. The battle continued. Both sides started to use Immortal GU and Immortal Killer moves. Immortal Yan Huang was always suppressed and pressured by Wu Yubo. The advantage the latter had was becoming clearer. Victory was near. Fang Yuan did not dare to be careless. If he failed his job, he would be punished when he returned to the clan. Yan Huang, die. It is your honor to die from my signature killer move. Wu Yubo had deep killing intent. A cold light was shining in his slim and long eyes. He activated his Immortal Killer move. Rain poured down as clouds gathered. Dark winds were howling. The three fused together to form a ball-shaped cage capturing Immortal Yan Huang. Immortal Yan Huang was trapped inside and could not leave. He was in a desperate situation. He was about to die. Fang Yuan closely observed Sha Qingkang, guarding against his intervention. But Sha Qingkang had a smile on his face. He watched casually, seemingly having no intention to interfere. But at this time, Immortal Yan Huang suddenly laughed loudly. The aura of countless GU worms appeared from his body. A bright light was shining from his body. Immediately, the cage that trapped him broke apart. How can this be? Wu Yubo was shocked. He was caught off guard. His signature killer move was broken. He immediately suffered huge injuries. The lava under Immortal Yan Huang's feet gathered and formed a battlefield. This was an Immortal Battlefield killer move. Wu Yubo had a pale expression. He was trapped inside the battlefield. The situation had turned around. Wu Yubo was in grave danger. With this sudden change, Fang Yuan wanted to help, but Sha Qingkang flew to him, warning him, Wu Yihai, don't be the shame of Wu clan. Fang Yuan chuckled. How can an outsider like you determine if our Wu clan is shameful? Saying this, he turned into a divination tortoise and charged into the lava battlefield. Sha Qingkang praised Fang Yuan's resolute decision internally, but he did not move slowly. In that case, have a taste of my killer move, Scattering Mind. A Wisdom Path Immortal Killer move. Sha Qingkang used his signature killer move right away. It was a powerful method. Any GU immortal hit with this would feel their mind wandering, there would be random thoughts colliding in their mind, their battle strength would be greatly affected. If they were careless, they would fall into confusion and be unable to help themselves. Fang Yuan chuckled. He kept charging towards the battlefield killer move without caring. Fool, Sha Qingkang mocked coldly. At the next moment, his scattering mind hit Fang Yuan, but it dissipated, while Fang Yuan was unscathed. Sha Qingkang's cold smile froze on his face. How can this be? This is Divination Tortoise. Sha Qingkang finally recognized Fang Yuan's transformation. He had a bitter expression. The Divination Tortoise was a Wisdom Path ancient desolate beast. It was skilled against the deductions of Wisdom Path GU immortals. This wisdom path killer move was created from the concept of deduction, it was completely countered by the divination tortoise. Bam! The battlefield killer move was broken by Fang Yuan as the divination tortoise entered, immediately saving Wu Yubo, who was in danger. Sha Qing Kang was about to interfere, but Fang Yuan said, "Our Wu clan has lost, this battle is over, Moon Bowl is yours." After hearing this, Sha Qing Kang stopped. Immortal Yan Huang wanted to attack, but Sha Qing Kang stopped him. The former had no choice but to watch with hatred as his enemy escaped. "Why did you let him go?" Immortal Yan Huang roared. Sha Qing Kang looked at him coldly. "We have already won Moon Bowl, our objective has been met. It is not the time for you to kill Wu Yubo yet. Don't forget that you are an external supreme elder of Sha clan, you have to think about our clan's benefits first." This time, Sha clan had won. If they pursued this matter, Wu clan would fight back with force. Sha clan did not want to be Wu clan's target and lose in the end, allowing the other forces to benefit. Chapter 1304. Happily Getting Immortal GU. The Wu clan rank 7 GU Immortal, Wu Yubo, lost to Immortal Yan Huang. This matter was intentionally spread by Sha clan. Soon, the whole of southern borders GU Immortal world knew about it, everyone was moved. Wu Yubo is a rank 7 expert, a famous battle strength of Wu clan, he lost to Immortal Yan Huang. Immortal Yan Huang is not weak, now that he has Sha clan's help, it is not that hard to defeat Wu Yubo. Wu Yubo is arrogant and prideful, it is quite shocking that he lost to a person he defeated before. The important thing is that Immortal Yan Huang broke through Wu Yubo's signature killer move, this is impressive. Perhaps Sha clan's Sha Lu Pei helped him to deduce it. Sha clan had a wisdom path GU Immortal who was famous for being a deduction expert in southern borders GU Immortal world. It was Sha Lu Pei. This time, Wu clan lost face. Not only did Wu Yubo lose to Immortal Yan Huang, he even nearly lost his life. If not for Wu Yihai, who broke through the battlefield killer move, Wu Yubo would not have survived. Seriously, yes, all sorts of GU worms have been passed around, they record the scene of that battle. Wu clan actually lost Moon Bowl, hee, this is a huge joke. Well, if we trace the origin, Wu clan had snatched Moon Bowl previously. This is what Wu clan deserves. Ha ha ha, now that Wu Dushu is dead, Wu clan cannot keep its title of number 1. Losing Moon Bowl was not a problem for Wu clan, which had vast territory and wealth. But Fang Yuan had intervened to destroy the battlefield killer move and save Wu Yubo, this made Wu clan fall into a passive spot. This was the difference between righteous path and demonic path. Fang Yuan had saved Wu Yubo, this was against the rules of the fight, Wu clan had lost face as a result. And the problem was, there was hard evidence regarding this, they could not deny it. Sha clan's wisdom path GU Immortal Sha Qing Kang was the one guarding Immortal Yan Huang. He was a meticulous person and had used information path Immortal GU to record the scene. They were targeting Wu clan, they naturally came prepared. Wu clan had to admit their fault. After Fang Yuan returned with Wu Yubo, Wu Yang gave orders to punish Fang Yuan, because he had gone against the rules of the fight, he was punished to be secluded and had to compensate some immortal essence stones. Fang Yuan had saved Wu Yubo, this was a merit. But for Wu clan, they had lost face, even though they saved a rank 7 GU Immortal, and it was much more important to them than face. Fang Yuan had merit, but Wu Yang punished him. But he had no grudges, he accepted his punishment and returned to Wu clan's headquarters, staying in his mountain and not leaving. The incident of Moon Bowl was still escalating, the impact was increasing. Wu Yubo was a prideful person, after losing to Immortal Yan Huang, he felt incredibly ashamed, he declared that he was going into secluded cultivation after returning, he would claim victory in the future. Even though Wu clan lost Moon Bowl Valley and Wu Yang punished Fang Yuan, who broke the rules, Wu clan's reputation had unavoidably declined. And most importantly, Sha clan's actions were an inspiration to the other super forces. Righteous path and demonic path were different. The righteous path had its own rules. Sha clan used these rules, even though Wu clan lost Moon Bowl, they did not object. Sha clan was special in southern border, and even among the 5 regions. Because this super force mainly cultivated light path and wisdom path. Even though wisdom path GU Immortals were rare, Sha clan had 5 wisdom path GU Immortals, and some of them were strong experts. Among the wisdom path GU Immortals of southern border, Sha clan was the domineering force, having a huge proportion of them. It was not strange that Wu clan was plotted against by Sha clan. The other forces saw Sha clan's success and were all moved, wanting to imitate them. When Wu Dushu was alive, Wu clan was domineering, taking over resource points from others, expanding their territory. Incidents like Moon Bowl were numerous. They had many enemies like Immortal Yan Huang. This was what other forces could use to deal with Wu clan. All sorts of intelligence was arriving. Wu Yang had an ominous sensation. He felt like a storm was brewing towards Wu clan. As expected, after Moon Bowl, Luo clan approached Wu clan with similar reasons as Sha clan. Next, Kai clan and Chai clan also attempted to get a share of Wu clan's Inspiration Cocoon Cave and Spring Sun Mountain range. Wu Yang oversaw the situation from the base, deploying people outside, but Wu clan's territory was too big, they lacked manpower, they could only maintain the situation at best. Wu clan was in trouble. Wu Yang had a huge headache, but his brother, Wu Yihai, was living a comfortable life. Inside the sovereign immortal aperture. Let me go, please let me go. Ah, Ma Hongyun's soul screamed in pain. But Fang Yuan ignored him, continuing to soul search him. Ma Hongyun's soul could not endure such torture, he quickly became very weak. Guts Gu. Fang Yuan used one Gu worm to replenish Ma Hongyun's soul, before continuing his soul search. You evil fiend, kill me, kill me. The intense pain in his soul made Ma Hongyun unable to endure it. He continued to curse, scold, cry, and beg, but Fang Yuan was unmoved. A moment later, he stopped. Ma Hongyun's soul was very diffuse, like mist that was about to vanish. But next, Fang Yuan smashed one Guts Gu and Ma Hongyun's soul healed. I have finally excavated all of the luck path true inheritance that Ma Hongyun had. But Zhao Lianyun is not dead yet, I can still continue to keep Ma Hongyun's soul, it has value. He. Fang Yuan had killed Ma Hongyun by accident in Reverse Flow River and obtained his soul. These last days, he had been soul-searching. After confirming that he had fully excavated everything, Ma Hongyun had no secrets in front of him anymore. Fang Yuan thus obtained a portion of the all-living beings' luck true inheritance. Self-luck, all living beings' luck, heaven and earth luck, these were Giant Sun Immortal Venerable's 3 true inheritances. Self-luck was in Langya Blessed Land, all living beings' luck was in 88 True Yang Building, and heaven and earth luck was in Longevity Heaven. As Imperial Court Blessed Land was destroyed, 88 True Yang Building collapsed, and the all living beings' luck true inheritance was destroyed as well. However, back then, Ma Hongyun and Zhao Lianyun were protected by the all living beings' luck true inheritance, they each received a portion of it. After so many events, Fang Yuan's soul searched him and obtained this portion of the all living beings' luck true inheritance. Thankfully, old ancestor Shui who wanted to use Ma Hongyun to refine fortune rivaling heaven and needed a healthy Ma Hongyun, thus he did not do anything to his soul. When Ma Hongyun left Imperial Court Blessed Land, he was captured by Shadow Sect's Qin Bai Sheng. Since he learned about the all living beings' luck true inheritance, Shadow Sect also knows. Fang Yuan analyzed, in this portion of the true inheritance, the greatest value was fortune rivaling heaven Immortal Gu's recipe. Ma Hongyun remembered the details. This was the core essence of the all-living being's luck true inheritance. It was not strange, it was because Ma Hongyun knew of this Immortal Gu recipe that old ancestor Shui who learned of it after buying him, resulting in him having the intention to refine fortune rivaling heaven Immortal Gu. Fortune rivaling heaven Immortal Gu, Fang Yuan smiled bitterly. According to this Immortal Gu recipe, even if he used up all of his wealth, he could not complete 10% of the recipe's needs. Unless he had a living Gu material like Ma Hongyun, he could save a lot of precious refinement materials, Fang Yuan could barely give it a go. But how would Fang Yuan dare to refine fortune rivaling heaven Immortal Gu? This was a rank 8 Immortal Gu. Brazenly trying to refine a rank 8 Immortal Gu, what would happen? Old ancestor Shui whose outcome was an example. This was the number 1 Gu Immortal with the highest battle strength in Northern Plains, but he was not doing well now. Not only did his refinement of fortune rivaling heaven fail, he lost Reverse Flow River and Snowy Mountain Blessed Land, even his beloved wife Lady Wan Shou was injured. Even though I have a lot of assets now, and the Sovereign Immortal Aperture's foundation can rival rank 8 Gu Immortals, my Immortal Essence Stone and Red Date Immortal Essence storage is low, and most importantly, I have few resources that are high in value. This time, Fang Yuan chased after Ying Wuxie, from southern border to eastern sea to northern plains, it consumed a lot of Immortal Essence. And inside Reverse Flow River, he created an Immortal Killer move. Reverse Flow Protection Seal was the most costly Immortal Killer move that he had. The Sovereign Immortal Aperture's production was incredible, but because I reduced the rate of time to stall calamities and tribulations, the efficiency fell drastically. Even though I am still earning profits, my expenditure is huge too. Especially the feeding of Immortal GU, Wisdom Sword Immortal GU and Attitude GU have not had their feeding settled yet, I still need more funds for them. Fang Yuan wanted to solve the problem of food, he also needed to store Immortal Essence for emergencies, his current situation was quite awkward. A while ago, he had to pay Immortal Essence stones for saving Wu Yubo against the rules, it added to his problems. Slowing the rate of time causes my Immortal Aperture to produce more slowly. This way, I can only expand production to emphasize on quantity instead. But what resources do I expand production of? This is an important consideration. Some resources are already oversupplied in the market, if I expand production, it would only harm me. While Fang Yuan was thinking about this, Wu Yubo's will brought an Immortal GU and flew towards Fang Yuan's mountain. Thank you for saving my life. Lord Wu Yihai, this rank 6 Vajrathot Immortal GU will be my expression of gratitude. Wu Yubo's will actually gave Fang Yuan an Immortal GU. Vajrathot Immortal GU. Evidently, this was a Wisdom Path Immortal GU. Fang Yuan had benefited from this Moon Bowl incident, he gained an Immortal GU. Even though it was rank 6, Immortal GU were unique, they were priceless. Chapter 1305, Vajrathot. This Vajrathot Immortal GU was fist-sized, it looked like a translucent glass, shining with golden lights, it looked very appealing. Fang Yuan held it in his hands, it was heavy, as if he was holding a piece of gold. The process of changing owners was very fast. When Fang Yuan refined this Vajrathot Immortal GU successfully, Wu Yubo's will said goodbye and flew away. Obtaining a rank 6 Immortal GU like this, Fang Yuan was not surprised. Because he had merit, Fang Yuan saved Wu Yubo, it was a huge merit in Wu clan. Even though he broke the rules and Wu clan lost face, they preserved a precious rank 7 battle strength. Evidently, his merits surpassed the problems he caused. Even though Wu Yong punished Fang Yuan understood why. This was the righteous path, they had to do it on the surface. Wu clan had to reward Fang Yuan, but Wu Yong could not do it himself. Once he did, the political implications would be different, if it were found out, others would use it to attack his reputation. Thus, Wu Yubo's will had to do it. This Vajrathot Immortal GU was supposedly Wu Yubo's personal gift to Fang Yuan, but it was actually Wu clan paying for it. There had to be this middleman, it was the righteous path's way. Another Immortal GU. Fang Yuan smiled bitterly. Ordinary GU Immortals might be happy, but to Fang Yuan, the implications were different. He had too many Immortal GU. The burden was huge. But Vajrathot Immortal GU is a Wisdom Path Immortal GU, I can use it to make up for some of my weaknesses. Fang Yuan did not lack Wisdom Path attainment level, he lacked Wisdom Path Immortal GU. In the past, he only had Attitude GU and Unravel Mystery GU, but now he had Affection GU and Vajrathot GU. 4 Wisdom Path Immortal GU, this was enough, with Fang Yuan's Wisdom Path Grandmaster attainment level, he could use them well. Fang Yuan instilled Red Date Immortal Essence, attempting to activate this Vajrathot Immortal GU. Immediately, golden thoughts appeared in his mind. These thoughts were small and exquisite, they shined with a metallic luster, giving off a tough feeling. When the thoughts collided, they created clanking sounds. Fang Yuan tried to use these newly produced Vajrathoughts to deduce. But he found that these Vajrathoughts were not good at thinking. The thoughts were hard to fuse, they often broke apart. Fang Yuan thought, as expected, he was not surprised. Vajrathot Immortal GU itself was not good for thinking, it excelled in fighting. Fang Yuan mobilized these Vajrathoughts in his mind, these thoughts were small and exquisite, when they left his mind, they expanded in the outside world, becoming fist-sized golden balls, there was bright light shining on their crystal-like surface. Fang Yuan sat on a cushion, hundreds of Vajrathoughts were floating around him, at once, golden light shined and gave him an extraordinary air. At his will, a Vajrathought flew out. Swoosh, it was very fast. Thoughts moved rapidly to begin with, thoughts moved faster than light in one's mind. When the Vajrathought was in the outside world, it was not as fast as in the mind, but it was still rapid. This speed is half of Sword Escape Immortal GU. Fang Yuan's eyes twitched, he was satisfied with this speed. Sword Escape was a rank 7 Immortal GU, and one with great speed. Vajrathot Immortal GU was only rank 6, but the Vajrathoughts could have half of Sword Escape's speed. Of course, for Immortal GU like Vajrathot, even if it was raised to rank 7 or 8, the quality of the Vajrathoughts produced would not change, only the quantity would vary. In theory, Mortal Vajrathot GU could produce Vajrathoughts no different from those produced by the Immortal GU. The difference was the quantity. Rank 5 Mortal Vajra Thought GU could produce 100 Vajra Thoughts at once. But Vajra Thought Immortal GU could produce thousands or even tens of thousands of Vajra Thoughts at once. Then what was the power of one Vajra Thought? Fang Yuan aimed at a tile on the ground and shot out the Vajra Thought. Bam! The Vajra Thought created a trail of golden light as it crashed into the tile, drilling deep underground. Fang Yuan nodded. The power was decent. This place was a mortal GU house. The defensive power was too weak for GU immortals, but it was not useless. The power of the Vajra Thought made Fang Yuan think of bullets from Earth. But it was much larger than bullets. One use of Vajra Thought Immortal GU can create thousands of Vajra Thoughts. If they are all shot out together, it is quite a sight. Wait a second. A flash of inspiration appeared in Fang Yuan's mind. He thought of two GU immortals. One was Dongfang Chongfan, the other was Yilui Qunsheng. The former had an immortal killer move called Myriad Star Fireflies. The latter also had an immortal killer move. It used star fragments as the core. The longer he fought, the stronger he became. I have Vajra Thought Immortal GU. Why don't I imitate Myriad Star Fireflies and create an immortal killer move? Fang Yuan considered it. Intuition from his Wisdom Path Grand Master attainment told him that this would not be tough. Thus, Fang Yuan stopped activating Vajra Thought Immortal GU. He pondered and began to deduce the immortal killer move. He was imitating Myriad Star Fireflies, using Vajra Thought Immortal GU as the core. The process was smooth, there was little difficulty, it all went according to Fang Yuan's intuition. An hour later, this immortal killer move was half complete. A day and a night later, Fang Yuan turned into a divination tortoise to deduce it without rest, finally obtaining the complete immortal killer move. Fang Yuan did not name this immortal killer move, because he had a new inspiration. Just this immortal killer move with rank 6 Vajra Thought Immortal GU as the core is not powerful enough. Maybe I can use divination tortoise transformation to modify this immortal killer move and raise its strength. This modification would not be easy. Even though he had Grandmaster Wisdom Path and Transformation Path attainment level, combining the two paths would not be an easy task. The modification took a long time. But Fang Yuan was not anxious. The outside situation was quite calm now. Even though Shadow Sect was around, and Heavenly Court and Longevity Heaven were pursuing him, as long as he used the Dream Realm, Fang Yuan's foundation would continue to grow rapidly. Undeniably, with Reverse Flow Protection Seal, his confidence had risen greatly. 3 days later, the modification of the killer move was not done. He was only at 30%, but Wu Yang had summoned Wu Yihai. In the hall, the two brothers talked. Wu Yang told Fang Yuan, if he was not happy with Vajra Thought Immortal GU, he could choose a rank 6 Immortal GU from the clan's treasury and exchange it. The reason was, after Fang Yuan accepted Vajra Thought Immortal GU, he did not make a move. Wu Yang thought that Fang Yuan was a lone immortal and did not know how the righteous path worked. He might have really assumed that it was a gift from Wu Yubo. This would not do. Wu Yang summoned Fang Yuan and hinted to him that this Vajra Thought Immortal GU was all because of this elder brother's efforts. And using the excuse of exchanging GU, he expressed goodwill to Fang Yuan. He did not know that Fang Yuan understood the entire situation, he was just pretending to be unaware. It seems that Wu clan is in trouble now, because they lack GU immortals. Wu Yang wants to make use of me. Fang Yuan immediately understood Wu Yang's intention. Fang Yuan did not want to interfere in Wu clan's matters. But recently, many super forces were cooperating to emit pressure on Wu clan subtly. There were many problems, Wu Yang was busy dealing with all of them. And over at the Giant Dream Realm, Ba clan was leading the GU immortals in giving trouble to Wu clan. Originally, Wu Yang wanted to send Fang Yuan there, but Ba clan was creating problems. The pressure at the Super GU formation was increasing. To play safe, Wu Yang did not want to change people now, thus, Fang Yuan's plan of going to the Super GU formation was stalled. Thank you for the concern, brother. I would like to take a look at the inner treasury as well. Fang Yuan had created an immortal killer move using Vajra Thought Immortal GU, but he still wanted to look at the immortal GU inside the inner treasury. Last time, he had chosen immortal GU from the outer treasury. The immortal GU inside the inner treasury were much better and had greater value. As the number one force of southern border, Fang Yuan was excited about what was inside Wu clan's inner treasury. There were few immortal GU in the inner treasury, but they were all the best of the best. But Fang Yuan had too many immortal GU now. He mainly wanted to probe Wu clan's foundation and gain more information about them. Chapter 1306. Immortal GU Reputation Restriction. Among them was an immortal GU called Reputation Restriction. It was a rare information path rank 7 immortal GU. Fang Yuan was very interested. After all, he was too weak in terms of information path, it was greatly restricting his development. Reputation restriction Immortal GU had an incredible effect. After it was used, it would turn into a rope to restrict any desolate beast or desolate plant, and even ancient desolate beasts or ancient desolate plants. Indeed, even though it was an information path Immortal GU, it had an enslavement path effect. It was very special and unique. What moved Fang Yuan was, this reputation restriction Immortal GU's effect varied according to its owner's reputation. This suited Fang Yuan very well. Be it Fang Yuan himself or Lu Guanyi, they were characters who shook all 5 regions, they were widely known. In recent times, who had the most prominent reputation? It was none other than Fang Yuan. But, my information path attainment level is ordinary, even if I get this reputation restriction Immortal GU, what use is it? Enslaving ancient desolate beasts and desolate plants is not useful to me. Only if I can enslave an immemorial desolate beast. And just this rank 7 Immortal GU reputation restriction will be impossible to enslave immemorial desolate beasts with. The only possibility is to use it as a core to create an immortal killer move. But that will take forever. My information path and enslavement path attainment levels are not at Grandmaster. Regarding immemorial desolate beasts or plants, Grandmaster attainment level is already very limited. Fang Yuan thought about it, he did not exchange it, he kept Vajra thought Immortal GU. This choice surprised Wu Yang a little. I made some gains in Eastern Sea, from now on, the divination tortoise transformation that uses wisdom path will be my main cultivation. Fang Yuan explained. This was in preparation for him using divination tortoise transformation in the future. Wu Yang nodded. I called you here for an additional matter. Fang Yuan was calm. Please tell me. Wu Yang smiled bitterly. The frosty peak that my clan controls is targeted by Sha clan. There are some historical reasons, they are all recorded in this information path Mortal GU. Brother, I hope you can help defend Frosty Peak for our clan. I am willing to solve your problem, brother. Fang Yuan agreed before accepting the information path Mortal GU, inspecting it. Fang Yuan's attitude made Wu Yang very pleased. Fang Yuan looked at the information in the GU worm, he understood this matter. As it turned out, after Immortal Yan Huang defeated Wu Yubo, Sha clan obtained Moon Bowl, becoming the greatest beneficiary. Thereafter, other super forces went to trouble Wu clan. After Sha clan gained this profit, they decided to continue plotting against Wu clan, to obtain greater gains for the clan. This time, they targeted Frosty Peak. Frosty Peak was not Wu clan's resource point originally, it belonged to a lone cultivator GU Immortal. Very long ago, this lone immortal sought help from Wu clan, and Wu clan wanted his territory, but the lone immortal did not want to give it away. After a long and arduous negotiation, the lone immortal lent this place to Wu clan for several hundred years. More than 100 years later, this lone immortal died from tribulation. This Frosty Peak officially became Wu clan's property, it had great production output each year. Sha clan was able to request for it because they found a descendant of this lone immortal. The lone immortal's descendant wanted Wu clan to return Frosty Peak, this was very reasonable, there was undeniable evidence. With Sha clan's backing, they created a lot of commotion, attempting to take back Frosty Peak by creating a ruckus. The lone immortal's descendant is a mortal GU master, they actually dare to challenge Wu clan. Sha clan has many wisdom path GU immortals, they are good at plotting. But this time, I must defend Frosty Peak. This is the best chance for me to display my strength. Wu Yang does not want me to go to the Super GU formation, he is afraid I cannot suppress the situation if I have inferior strength. Fang Yuan received the mission, but he did not set off urgently. He knew, even though he was strong, his methods could not be exposed. Divination Tortoise transformation was good at defense but lacked offense. Thankfully, he had Vajra thought Immortal GU, but he had to deduce that new immortal killer move first. Thus, for more than 10 days afterwards, Fang Yuan stayed inside his house, trying to deduce and modify the immortal killer move. This was not a peaceful time. Sha clan saw that Wu clan did not move and repeatedly urged them, spreading the news everywhere. Wu clan faced great pressure. Wu Yang also came to urge Fang Yuan, but he stalled for time. No rush. If we do not show up, Sha clan cannot take over Frosty Peak by force. Sha clan is causing a commotion. It is no problem, let them make a scene, we will remain unmoved. Be steady. When I was a secluded cultivator in Eastern Sea, I learned that this was the meaning of life. Be slower, the slower we work, the better the results. Fang Yuan gave a lot of reasons, he had a reply to everything. In the end, even Wu Yong became anxious. Wu Yihai did not face much pressure, but as the head of Wu clan, his pressure was getting heavier by the day. The clan's affairs are my affairs. Since this is entrusted to me, I will definitely succeed. I will not let you down, brother, I will meet your expectations. Fang Yuan still willfully did things his way. Wu Yong had no choice, he had no more GU immortals to send. Only when Fang Yuan deduced the immortal killer move and experimented with it successfully did he start to leave, heading towards Frosty Peak. Wu Yong let out a sigh of relief. Sha clan had been focusing on Wu clan all along. The moment Fang Yuan moved, they received news of it. On Frosty Peak, Wu clan sent Wu Yihai this time. Rank 6 Wisdom Path GU Immortal Sha Zhou spoke. This Frosty Peak is on par with Moon Bowl. Wu clan did not send Wu Yubo or Wu Zhen here. This is a terrible move. Rank 7 GU Immortal Sha Fei Kue could not believe it. Sha Zhou thought about it. Wu clan has nobody to send anymore. Wu Yubo is a prideful person. After losing to Immortal Yan Huang, unless he can kill Immortal Yan Huang and regain his reputation, he would not come out of seclusion. As for Wu Zhen, he is busy defending Phoenix Peak. How can he leave? During this period, all the different phoenix birds are going there to produce their eggs. Ha ha ha, Wu Yong has no choice, he sent Wu Yihai after having no other alternatives. How is this person's battle strength? Sha Fei Kue asked. Sha Zhou thought about it. His battle strength is unclear. He used to be a secluded cultivator in Eastern Sea, there is little information on him. But he could escape threats and return to Wu clan, he can defend himself. Recently, he saved Wu Yubo and used a divination tortoise transformation. Due to a coincidence, he managed to counter Lord Sha Qing Kang's scattering mind. Saying this, he smiled bitterly. The divination tortoise has naturally defense against wisdom path methods. Against him, I may not be of use. It will depend on you. Sha Zhou was a rank 6 wisdom path GU immortal, while Sha Fei Kue was a rank 7 light path GU immortal. The latter laughed. I see that this Wu Yihai is stalling for so much time, he has no confidence. Don't worry, I will go ahead and suppress this person. After we take down Frosty Peak, our Sha clan's territory will expand. This will be a huge merit. Chapter 1307, 4 Seasons Tea. The sky was dark, it was drizzling. Fang Yuan flew to the sky, mist surrounding him. I'm here. At his will, he descended as the mist in his vision vanished, showing the land. Southern border had many mountains. Fang Yuan was above many mountains, it was a scene of greenery. In this sea of greenery, Frosty Peak was unique, it was completely white and different in height, standing out from the rest. At the apex of Frosty Peak, there was a mortal GU house. At the entrance of the GU house, Sha clan's 2 GU immortals, Sha Zhou and Sha Fei Kue, had already sensed Fang Yuan's arrival. Fang Yuan was here to negotiate, he did not purposely conceal his presence. It was normal for the 2 Sha clan GU immortals to notice him at once. He is finally here. This Wu Yihai is really amazing, he took half a month to travel on a 3-day route. Sha Fei Kue frowned deeply. Forget it, he's here, let's go. Sha Zhou smiled. The 2 sides met in the sky. Both sides were smiling, they had a grand demeanor, after all, they were representing 2 super forces. The 2 Sha clan GU immortals assessed Wu Yihai, thinking, he looks really similar to Wu Dushu. Fang Yuan was also assessing these 2 GU immortals. Sha Fei Kue was rank 7, he was the person in charge of this negotiation. According to Wu clan's information, Sha Fei Kue was a rash and resolute person, he had great battle strength. Meanwhile, Sha Zhou was a wisdom path GU immortal who considered many aspects and liked to think deeply. Sha Zhou's personality had to do with his childhood experiences. Whenever he encountered an important situation, he would think about the possibilities over and over. Meanwhile, Sha Fei Kue's personality was the backlash of a certain immortal killer move that he had tried to use. This was the first time both sides were meeting. Sha clan's GU immortals led Fang Yuan to the apex of Frosty Peak. Please enter for some tea. The 2 GU immortals acted like the hosts of the place, as if they were declaring their ownership. The contest had already begun, but Fang Yuan was unmoved, as if he did not sense it. He smiled as he sat down, drinking. The tea is not bad. After one sip, he praised. Sha Zhou smiled. This is our Sha clan's 4 Seasons tea, our first Supreme Elder had created it personally. With one sip, you will taste 4 different flavors, making people feel the 4 seasons of spring, autumn, summer, and winter. Therefore, it is called 4 Seasons tea. Sha clan first Supreme Elder was a time path great expert. The 4 Seasons tea that she created showed her incredible attainment in time path. Sha clan's GU immortals used this tea to assert dominance, but after Fang Yuan drank it, his smile intensified. This is a great tea, I wonder if you have any extra. I would like to ask for a few more portions, may I have them? Fang Yuan smiled as he squinted. The two Sha clan GU immortals looked at each other. Sha Zhoumo thought, this Wu Yihai is really greedy. However, even if they were enemies, their righteous path demeanor was important. Furthermore, politics was always changing. Right now, everyone was opposing Wu clan, but maybe they would soon have to cooperate with Wu clan. Sha Zhoumo decided and was about to speak, when Sha Fei Kuei said, whatever. This is nothing much, we have a lot of Four Seasons tea, if you want them, you can have them. Saying this, he gave out over 10 portions of Four Seasons tea. Then I will accept it. Fang Yuan laughed heartily, receiving the tea leaves. Sha Fei Kuei quickly added, let's talk about Frosty Peak. Fang Yuan raised his cup and sipped slowly, before putting it down as he said, please tell me. Sha Fei Kuei quickly spoke, his mouth opened and closed rapidly, this matter takes very long to explain. Since we all know the origin, let's cut to the chase, little Zhang, come out. As he said that, a rank 5 GU master walked out of a door inside the GU house. This descendant of Zhang Sanfeng, Zhang Kai Zui, greets the three immortals. This GU master was old and had white hair, he greeted the three immortals without excessive reverence. This little Zhang's bloodline is absolutely correct. Come, Wu Yihai, quickly test it. Sha Fei Kuei left his seat, walking to Zhang Kai Zui and pulling his arm, bringing him to Fang Yuan with an expression that seemed to be in a hurry. Zhang Sanfeng was that lone cultivator GU immortal who was the owner of Frosty Peak. Of course, Zhang Sanfeng was not his original name, it was sort of a title one. Because he owned 3 mystical peaks, Frosty Peak was one of them. His real name was unknown, ever since he appeared, he had never revealed his true name, only mentioning his surname of Zhang. As a result, everyone called him Zhang Sanfeng. Even his bloodline descendants did not know his true name. Fang Yuan knew this, Wu clan's information was quite comprehensive. But he suddenly waved his hand, acting confused. Wait, who is this GU master? Sha Fei Kuei was stunned. Zhang Kai Zui was about to speak, when Sha Fei Kuei said, he is Zhang Kai Zui, he introduced himself earlier, we all know it. I know he is named Zhang Kai Zui. Fang Yuan nodded. But he paused and drank tea, continuing, but what does this mortal GU master have to do with Frosty Peak? It is like this, his ancestor Zhang Sanfeng had once, Sha Fei Kuei added. Wait, Fang Yuan stopped him, who is Zhang Sanfeng? Sha Fei Kuei was stunned. Wu Yihai, after so long, you have no idea who Zhang Sanfeng is. Fang Yuan gave an embarrassed-looking smile. The clan wants me to protect Frosty Peak, but I arrived in a hurry, I have no idea what the cause of all this is. Please do not mind it. Sha Fei Kuei thought. You arrived in a hurry, reaching here after half a month. That's arriving in a hurry. He thought that, but he spoke politely, then let me tell you the reason. I am listening. Sha Fei Kuei spoke rapidly, he explained the historical reason in the blink of an eye. Fang Yuan drank his tea and nodded. Sha Fei Kuei said, are you clear now? Fang Yuan placed down his cup, standing up from his seat and cupping his fists at Sha Fei Kuei. Sha Fei Kuei had no idea why Fang Yuan was cupping his fists, it was a bit out of nowhere, but they were in the righteous path, a polite demeanor was everything, no matter what, he had to cup his fists in return. Next, he saw that Fang Yuan smiled again in embarrassment. Fang Yuan said, thank you for telling me that, but it was described too quickly, I could only understand the story roughly, I did not understand a lot of it. Can you tell me again? Again, Sha Zhoumo, who was beside him, frowned. Sha Fei Kuei did not repeat it once again, he said, which part are you unsure about? I can explain that to you. His tone was unhappy. Chapter 1308, Shameless. Fang Yuan seemed to have not noticed, he smiled, the first line, I did not hear it clearly. Sha Fei Kuei explained it. Fang Yuan nodded. And the second line? Sha Fei Kuei frowned. Fang Yuan continued. I did not hear it clearly either. Sha Fei Kuei repeated it and said in an unhappy tone, is there anything else? The third line, Fang Yuan said. Sha Fei Kuei's eyes were about to bulge out, he said directly, pardon my words, but did you not hear the first 3 sentences? Are you toying with us? Please, you have misunderstood. Fang Yuan waved his hands. The third line. I heard it clearly. Sha Zhoumo's expression turned dark. Sha Fei Kuei's brows were lifted high, his eyes were popping, rage showed on his face. Then what do you want? Fang Yuan said. Actually, the fourth line. Sha Fei Kuei waved his hand. I will say it again, listen closely and carefully. He talked about it again. This time, he said it very slowly, word by word, it was crystal clear. Fang Yuan stood up and cupped his fists at Sha Fei Kuei again. Sha Fei Kuei felt perplexed, he had a bad feeling but he quickly cupped his fists. He spoke calmly. Are you clear on it now? Clear, it's clear now. Thank you for explaining, everything makes sense now. Oh, so that is what happened. Fang Yuan patted his forehead, sitting down. Thus, your clan has to return Frosty Peak, it is the logical thing to do. Our Sha clan is upholding justice, this Zhang Kai Zui is without doubt the descendant of Zhang Sanfeng, please test it. Sha Fei Kuei requested again. But Fang Yuan only took a glance at Zhang Kai Zui before smiling as he waved his hand. No rush, no rush. What is it that do you not understand now? Sha Fei Kuei's expression was grim, he asked in a dark tone. I have troubled you for the description, but was the situation really like this? I cannot confirm it, Fang Yuan said. Sha Fei Kuei was about to laugh from anger. I am speaking the truth, you can go ahead and seek verification. Ha ha, Fang Yuan laughed, clapping his hands together. You are a straight talker, I will seek verification from my clan. Saying this, he shut his eyes, as if his consciousness had entered his immortal aperture, to use his information path methods. After a long time, Fang Yuan did not open his eyes. Sha Fei Kuei urged him. Wu Yihai, are you done? Fang Yuan opened his eyes, he smiled in embarrassment. Brother is too busy with his work, let's wait a while. Regarding a rank 8 GU Immortal, Sha Fei Kuei could not say anything, so Sha Zhou interjected. Lord Wu Yang is busy indeed, he has no choice. But Wu Yihai, you may ask other Wu clan GU Immortals for verification. Fang Yuan immediately laughed, giving Sha Zhou a thumbs up. Worthy of a wisdom path GU Immortal indeed, good idea. This praise made Sha Zhou's expression freeze. Next, Fang Yuan said, but I am not close with any other GU Immortal. Do you have any recommendations? Recommend your sister. Sha Fei Kuei was listening by the side, he shouted out of anger. My sister. I only have an elder brother, I have no sister. You must have remembered wrongly. Fang Yuan smiled while squinting. Sha Fei Kuei was speechless. He looked at Sha Zhou, they communicated with their gazes, they could tell that Fang Yuan was wasting time. To think that Wu clan actually sent such a person over. They are too shameless. Sha Fei Kuei was filled with anger. He wanted to negotiate properly, but Fang Yuan refused. And because they were righteous path characters, Sha Fei Kuei could not go overboard. Seeing Fang Yuan's smiling appearance, he really wanted to throw out a punch and send Fang Yuan plummeting to the ground. Don't be anxious, don't be angry, you will fall for his trap. This person is very experienced, he is purposely angering us so we will expose a flaw. Sha Zhou quickly urged. Sha Fei Kuei could only breath roughly, taking in huge breaths. Fang Yuan spoke as he looked at Sha Fei Kuei seriously. Do I really have a sister? Please let me know. Sha Fei Kuei. He took in a few more breaths before he said. No, it was a slip of the tongue, please do forgive me. Oh, is that so? Fang Yuan nodded, saying in concern. I see that your tongue is dry, and your chest is moving rapidly, it seems you have symptoms of getting a fever. You need to drink tea, otherwise you will get sick. In fact, this Four Seasons tea is great, you should take a few more sips. Sha Zhou. Sha Fei Kuei screamed. Drink what? We are talking about important business. Fang Yuan had a solemn expression. Friend, that is not the right attitude, what do you mean important business? Is being concerned about your health not important business? This Frosty Peak is just a resource point, these are just resources. You cannot fall ill just because of these resources, you will harm yourself. He urged heartfully, but it seemed to be adding fuel to the fire. Sha Fei Kuei slammed the table angrily. Wu Yihai, he screamed. Don't think that you can deceive us like this, and keep Frosty Peak for your Wu clan. HMPH. Fang Yuan's expression quickly changed, saying sincerely, what are you trying to say? I am innocent, we have to follow the rules for Frosty Peak's matter. This is Zhang Sanfeng's possession, if this Zhang Kai Zui is a true descendant, we will return it. On behalf of Wu clan, we will do this fair and square, we will not be corrupt, and ruin the rules of the righteous path just for some benefits. You are an understanding person. Sha Zhou smiled forcefully, saying with deep intentions. Sha Fei Kuei frowned, he stopped shouting, he said, that's right, quickly test his bloodline, Zhang Kai Zui really is Zhang Sanfeng's descendant. No rush, no rush. Fang Yuan smiled and started to drink tea. Let me seek verification from my clan first. It is not that I do not trust you, but this is a major task. I do not dare to decide recklessly on my own. Then quickly verify it, Sha Fei Kuei shouted, but Brother Wu Yang has not responded. Fang Yuan looked troubled. Then find others, Sha Fei Kuei shouted. Fang Yuan slapped his own leg. That is right, but I just returned to the clan, I do not know anyone else. I am not sure who to find for verification. Earlier, I asked you two to help me, but you gave me no help. I am very troubled too. Once he said that, the two Sha clan GU immortals were shocked. They looked at each other. After such a long time, giving so many excuses, it was now Sha clan's fault. The rank 5 GU master Zhang Kai-zui listened as he stared at Fang Yuan with wide-opened eyes. This was the demeanor of a GU immortal. He was shameless to the max. Zhang Kai-zui was awestruck. His good impression of GU immortals had shattered completely. Forget it, I can tell now, this person is clearly stalling for time. Sha Zhou transmitted. Stalling for what? Sha Fei Kuei asked. Evidently, Wu clan has no justification here, they are in a passive spot. Wu Yihai has to continue wasting time here by giving all sorts of excuses. When Wu clan is no longer so tight on manpower, they will be able to deal with us, it will be difficult then. Let alone other matters, when the phoenix birds lay their eggs, Wu Zhen will be free to come here. If he comes, the situation will be different. Sha Zhou analyzed. You are right, what do we do? This Wu Yihai is stalling for time, but he speaks so justifiably, we have no way of finding problems with him. There are many ways to stall for time. For example, he needs time to verify this, and he also needs time to test his identity. Then what about after he tests Zhang Kai-zui's bloodline? Will he ask if Zhang Sanfeng only has one descendant? All these questions will be endless if he wants to bring them up. Sha Fei Kuei realized the severity of the problem. I have a plan, Sha Zhou said. What plan? Sha Fei Kuei asked quickly. Sha Zhou answered. As Sha Fei Kuei became overjoyed, he quickly turned to look at Fang Yuan. Wu Yihai, I have long since heard that you are extremely strong, you are the glory of Wu clan. I would like to represent Sha clan and challenge you to a spar. Chapter 1309, Spar. Spar, that was just a nicer way of talking about resolving the problem by fighting. But this fight was different from the intense battles of the demonic path. When demonic path members fought, it was mortal combat. For righteous path GU immortals, they had a lot of assets, why would they fight to the death? Just deciding a winner was enough. This was also why Fang Yuan purposely stalled for time, preventing the resolution of Frosty Peak's issue. This forced the two Sha clan GU immortals to go on the offense and deal with the matter through force. The truth was, on Earth, when negotiations fail, stronger countries would send their troops over. It was the same thing. Sha Fei Kuei's words were quite interesting. He was representing Sha clan and also claimed Wu Yihai to be Wu clan's glory. He said this was a spar, but this was actually a contest between both clans. Just these words forced Fang Yuan into a corner. If he avoided battle, it would harm Wu clan's reputation. This was something that the righteous path would look down upon, he would be treated as a coward. But the two from Sha clan did not know that Fang Yuan was not Wu Yihai, he did not care about Wu clan's reputation or glory. However, he was acting as Wu Yihai now, he still wanted to go to the Super GU formation, Fang Yuan had to accept this challenge. He thought briefly before saying, if it is a spar, both of you will be fighting against me, I am outnumbered, I will definitely lose. Sha Fei Kuei's expression changed. These were vicious words. In fact, requesting for the spar had already caused him to be in a passive spot. If he lost, it would be humiliation. If the two Sha clan GU immortals fought together and won, they would be using numbers for an unfair advantage, it would make them lose face, they could not spread news about this. Actually, Sha Fei Kuei had not thought of fighting together with Sha Zhou. He said, I will fight you alone, don't worry. Fang Yuan had a reluctant expression. He said, since you want to spar so urgently, I cannot reject you. But since this is a spar, there has to be a time limit, right? We cannot fight on forever. What do you have in mind? Sha Fei Kuei asked. Spars had their rules, it was different from a life and death battle. Fang Yuan said, you attack and I defend, as long as you can break my defense within 10 moves, I lose. Sha Fei Kuei's eyelids were twitching, he said, okay. Sha Zhou frowned, he felt something amiss. But since Sha Fei Kuei had already agreed, they might as well spar. He had confidence in Sha Fei Kuei. Frosty Peak was not the place to fight, destroying it would ruin the point of the task. Both sides flew to a desolate valley. Fang Yuan quickly stood opposite Sha Fei Kuei. Start. Sha Fei Kuei could not wait, he wanted to teach Fang Yuan a lesson. Among southern borders rank 7 GU immortals, he was a famous expert. In the entire Wu clan, other than the rank 8 GU immortal Wu Yong, the strongest rank 7 GU immortal, Wu Yubo, was only slightly superior to him. Now that Wu Yubo was in secluded cultivation, who would Sha Fei Kuei fear? One had to say, getting immortal Yan Huang to defeat Wu Yubo was indeed a well-executed move. In terms of real battle strength, immortal Yan Huang was not Wu Yubo's match, but Sha clan had managed to crack Wu Yubo's signature killer move. Wu Yubo was targeted, his immortal killer move was broken and he suffered an intense backlash, causing immortal Yan Huang to win the battle. Wait, Fang Yuan gestured with his hand. Sha Fei Kuei was ready to fight. Fang Yuan's words made him feel very uncomfortable. He called out, Wu Yihai, what else do you want? I almost forgot, since this is a spar, we can't do it so casually, right? Fang Yuan smiled. Sha Fei Kuei thought, how is it casual? Teaching you a lesson is this battle's most important point. He was thinking that, but he could not say it out loud. GU immortals had all sorts of methods to record scenes. Like earlier, when immortal Yan Huang challenged Wu Yubo, Sha clan's Sha Qingkang recorded everything. It was widely spread over southern borders GU immortal world. Sha Fei Kuei held in his anger. What do you want? Simple, if I manage to win, then the status quo for Frosty Peak will remain, it will belong to us. Fang Yuan said. How can we do that? Sha Zhou, who was far away, was anxious. He rushed to Sha Fei Kuei and spoke loudly. Right now, Sha clan was finding trouble, having the descendant of Zhang Sanfeng, they had justification and a huge advantage. Wu clan was forced into a passive position. If they agreed to this, they would lose their advantage, it was not wise. Sha Fei Kuei curled his lips, thinking, I'm not stupid. At the same time, he rejected, no way. In that case, I cannot fight. This spar is voided. Fang Yuan waved his hand, turning around and walking away. Sha Fei Kuei almost wanted to curse at him upon seeing this. We left Frosty Peak and came all this way, after so much trouble, and selecting a proper valley to spar. And now, you want to cancel the fight? Are you toying with us? His expression turned grim. Wu Yihai, leaving without fighting, is this the courage and glory of Wu clan? Fang Yuan stopped moving. Sha Fei Kuei smiled coldly. Fang Yuan turned around, looking at Sha Fei Kuei with a serious expression, saying shamelessly, you are wrong. I am not avoiding the spar, but you two are not agreeing to my request. Since our negotiation failed, it does not mean I am running away. Look, I even chose the location for it. What the FCK? These words made Sha Zhou, who was watching by the side, feel anger. Sha Fei Kuei stared with furious eyes, he was fuming. He stared at Fang Yuan fixedly. How could Wu clan produce such a shameless person? Weren't Wu clan GU immortals brash and usually eager to fight to resolve problems? Where was the bravery and spirit of Wu clan? Where was it? But soon, Sha Fei Kuei thought of Fang Yuan's origin. Indeed, Wu Yihai was not a Wu clan GU immortal from birth, he was a secluded cultivator in Eastern Sea. This damn secluded cultivator. Fang Yuan showed a deeper smile. Since we cannot spar, let's continue talking and drinking tea. I have to say, your Four Seasons tea is really delicious, I am looking forward to it as we speak. Drink tea. Talk about what? Sha Fei Kuei felt an intense urge to strangle Fang Yuan to death in his mind, his chest was burning with rage. Sha Zhou looked at Sha Fei Kuei bitterly, thinking, weren't you the one who gave him a lot of tea leaves earlier? Fang Yuan suddenly muttered to himself before saying, how about this, if I win, for the next 5 years, we will maintain the status quo, you will not harp on the Frosty Peak issue, how about that? This, Sha Zhou started to ponder over it. Fang Yuan suddenly raised this condition, compared to before, it was much more acceptable. But Wu Yihai likely has a plan for giving us this condition. Sha Zhou was still thinking. Sha Fei Kuei spoke. Okay, I agree. Sha Zhou was stunned, transmitting, Lord Sha Fei Kuei, you. Are we going to let this bastard continue wasting time? I will bear full responsibility for this, it has nothing to do with you. I cannot waste so much time, the less time I spend with this guy, the better. Sha Fei Kuei replied resolutely, he had a firm attitude. Sha Zhou smiled bitterly. If this battle is lost, even if you, Sha Fei Kuei, take responsibility, can I run away from it? The clan sent me here to help you, it was to give you advice, right? Sigh. He sighed deeply in his mind, transmitting helplessly, Then I will hope for Lord to emerge victorious. Are you too sure? Fang Yuan asked. His condition was just delaying the problem for Wu Clan, it did not solve it. But after 5 years, Fang Yuan would be done with his matters, by then, who cares about Wu Clan? We are sure. This time, Sha Fei Kuei did not speak, Sha Zhoumo did. Okay. Fang Yuan slowly flew back, speaking in an obnoxious way. Actually, I did not want to spar, it hurts our relationship either way. But Lord Sha Fei Kuei is so insistent, on behalf of the 4 seasons tea leaves that you gave me, I will agree to this. Stop mentioning the tea and fight. Sha Fei Kuei bellowed, his eyes were bloodshot. Before he finished his words, Fang Yuan's body shined and turned into a divination tortoise. Sha Fei Kuei was stunned. Fang Yuan was wasting so much time earlier, but he transformed so quickly now, it was quite a contrast. Divination tortoise again, Sha Zhoumo frowned. The divination tortoise's huge body stood in the valley with its 4 pillar-like legs, it filled up this entire valley. The entire divination tortoise was dark in color, the shell had all sorts of markings, thousands or tens of thousands of them, they were very eye-catching. Sha Zhoumo looked at them for a while before feeling dizzy, he quickly stopped. Sha Fei Kuei did not expect Fang Yuan to use an immortal killer move now. Normally, when GU immortals spar, they would probe first. Fang Yuan skipped it and used his trump card immediately. The tough shell shows this divination tortoise's defensive power. No wonder he chose this style of sparring. Thinking of this, Sha Zhoumo frowned even more deeply. What do I do? Sha Fei Kuei hesitated, he did not know what Wu Yihai specialized in, but Fang Yuan knew what he was good at. Sha Fei Kuei only hesitated for a moment, before attacking. First move, he raised his fist and clenched it, floating in the sky, he aimed at the divination tortoise in the valley and punched. His fist shot out light, it was dazzling. Pure white light gathered in Sha Fei Kuei's fist as it turned into a large ball of light, crashing down. Auras of Immortal GU and Mortal GU mixed together. This was an immortal killer move, Soaring Essence Strike. Chapter 13:10, so embarrassing. Since Fang Yuan had used an immortal killer move, Sha Fei Kuei had no choice but to use an immortal killer move as well. A pure white ball of light moved with an average speed, not showing any signs of light path speed advantage. But as it flew in the air, it pushed the air aside, emitting a buzzing noise. Boom! The wine vat-sized ball of light smashed down like the weight of a mountain on the divination tortoise's back, smashing the tortoise into the ground. The enormous divination tortoise had sunken by over a foot in the ground. Sha Fei Kuei's move was indeed powerful. Light Path was famous for speed, but this soaring essence strike of Sha Fei Kuei was the complete opposite, it was like a heavy fist, and the enemies would often be caught off guard by its powerful strength. However, Fang Yuan's divination tortoise was perfectly unharmed. Sha Fei Kuei's eyes almost popped out when he saw the result of his attack. The divination tortoise was intact with not even a slight dent on it. This was the obvious result. Sha Fei Kuei's move used Light Path to imitate Strength Path, it was considered a unique move. Meanwhile, Fang Yuan's divination tortoise transformation was a rank 7 immortal killer move, which used change form immortal GU and divination tortoise shell immortal GU as the cores. Especially the latter, just by activating it, Fang Yuan could obtain a tortoise shell that was not weaker than an ancient divination tortoise. And now, it was an immortal killer move possessing many supplementary GU worms, the tortoise shell's defensive capability was stronger than a real ancient divination tortoise. Ancient desolate beasts had extremely strong and sturdy bodies with vigorous vitality, and tortoises were one of the toughest life forms among all living beings. It was not strange for Sha Fei Kuei's soaring essence strike to show no effect. But to the person involved, this was slightly ridiculous. Soaring essence strike had no effect, he has such a hard shell. Sha Zhoumo was shocked. Sha Fei Kuei stopped, he started to develop an unfamiliar feeling, that was a headache. Looking at such a sturdy tortoise shell, he felt a headache and did not know where to start. In fact, if he had attacked any other area, the result would not have been this bad, but he had to go and choose the hardest part, the tortoise shell. Naturally, this was also because he wanted to probe the depths of Fang Yuan's strength. What should I do? Sha Fei Kuei began to think rapidly. Although he was irascible, he managed to quickly become cool-headed in the fight. But at this moment, Fang Yuan activated a second immortal killer move. Auras of Immortal GU and Mortal GU rose. Fang Yuan opened his mouth and breathed out countless small tortoise shells. The small tortoise shells had the same appearance as the divination tortoise's shell, except that they were many times smaller. The large numbers of small tortoise shells floated in the air, rotating at a very fast speed. What are these things? Sha Fei Kuei stopped thinking and cautiously pulled apart some distance from Fang Yuan. Boom, he punched forward with soaring essence strike again. But this time, the wine vat-sized heavy light sphere did not even manage to touch the divination tortoise. Those small fist-sized tortoise shells seemed to be attracted like bees attracted to honey, as they looped towards the soaring essence strike. Bam bam bam, the seemingly hard tortoise shells shattered into hundreds of pieces in the collisions. But the soaring essence strike also was completely consumed, finally turning into a dim fragment of light that helplessly dissipated in the air. Immortal killer move, Vajra Shell. This was the immortal killer move Fang Yuan had been perfecting earlier, combined with his divination tortoise transformation. This was the first time it had been displayed in southern border and even in the 5 regions. The core of this immortal killer move was the rank 6 immortal Gu Vajra Thought. But it was combined with rank 7 perseverance immortal Gu as well as large numbers of mortal Gu. Its might had naturally increased by a lot, it had not been a waste of Fang Yuan's time and energy. Ah, these tortoise shells are actually thoughts. Sha Zhoumo's eyes emitted sharp light as he saw through the mystery. He was a wisdom path Gu immortal and was very sensitive to all kinds of thoughts. This was the area he was proficient in. As for Sha Fei Kuei, he cultivated light path, not wisdom path, even though he was rank 7, he only realized after Sha Zhoumo's notification. Sha Zhoumo, you are knowledgeable, the two of you are a good match. The divination tortoise spoke human language, its tone filled with sarcasm. In fact, Fang Yuan had not intended to conceal it, it was just that after combining with divination tortoise transformation, these golden thoughts turned into dark tortoise shells. Little Mo, be quiet, I will break his shell. Sha Fei Kuei said. Sha Zhoumo grunted, but did not speak anymore. Being ridiculed by Fang Yuan had made his expression unsightly. Sha Fei Kuei closed his eyes. He began to prepare. All sorts of Gu worms, auras started brimming and linking up, before quickly spreading. Red Date Immortal Essence was being consumed rapidly. At the same time, he spread his arms and slowly put his hands together above his head. Light surged up like a fountain from him, gathering between his palms. He was still accumulating energy. The radiance was restrained, but a powerful aura started rising up, becoming more and more dangerous. Fang Yuan lowered his tortoise head and firmly rooted his limbs to the ground like a silent dark mountain. But at the same time, the small tortoise shells around him were continuing to fly, their numbers increasing extremely rapidly. There were close to 10,000 at first, but the numbers soon surpassed 20,000, 30,000, 40,000. Their proliferation was extremely fast. Rank 6 Vajra Thought Immortal Gu could create 10,000 Vajra Thoughts alone. As an immortal killer move now, its effect had increased by another level. The most crucial point was that Fang Yuan's body was filled with wisdom path Dao marks right now. Actually, Fang Yuan did not have many wisdom path Dao marks, but he had transformation path Dao marks and there were quite a lot of them. He had killed a lot of transformation path Gu immortals and annexed all of their Dao marks. The most significant harvest was when he had killed Wu Yihai and the 2 immortals inside the regional wall, just this alone gave Fang Yuan close to 50,000 transformation path Dao marks. 1,000 Dao marks could double the effect. 10,000 Dao marks could give 10 times the amplification. 50,000 Dao marks meant 50 times the amplification. What did that imply? Ordinary rank 7 Gu immortals would have about 10,000 to 30,000 Dao marks of their main path. Sha Fei Kuei was a rank 7 expert, his light path Dao marks exceeded 30,000 in number. But how could they compare to Fang Yuan? As a result, Sha Fei Kuei and Sha Zhoumo could only stare wide-eyed at the rapid proliferation of the small tortoise shells that soon covered the whole valley, and were spreading further. The dark and dense numbers of tortoise shells were like locusts and ants. Sha Fei Kuei's expression sank. These small tortoise shells had increased by such a quantity in just a short while, emitting a heavy mental pressure to others. However, Sha Fei Kuei skillfully used the circumstances of the spar. According to the rule they decided upon, Fang Yuan could only defend and not attack, so Fang Yuan could not take the initiative to use these small tortoise shells to attack Sha Fei Kuei. Sha Fei Kuei calmed his mind and activated his Immortal Killer move. Light Path Immortal Killer move, Saw Light Wheel. His 2 hands, that were above his head, chopped down at once. A dazzling wheel of light flew out from Sha Fei Kuei's palms. The wheel of light grew rapidly and soon was the size of a boat. The wheel of light was continuously rotating, its edges were filled with sawteeth. Good, Sha Zhoumo inwardly cheered. The tortoise shells are hard, but this move saws through the target. Even if the tortoise shells are very hard, they will still be sliced apart. However, at the next moment, swish swish swish, Countless tortoise shells flew over. Crack crack crack. Under the tortoise shell's self-destructive charge, the saw-light wheel could only fly for a short distance before it was completely destroyed. Sha Zhou Mo, Sha Fei Kuei, Fang Yuan praised loudly. Great killer move, this move is extraordinary, it actually destroyed over 6,000 of my thoughts. These words were like a slap upon the cheeks of Sha Zhou Mo and Sha Fei Kuei. Sha Fei Kuei needed a lot of time to prepare for this immortal killer move. Normally speaking, the shorter the preparation time for an immortal killer move, the better it was, because if it took longer, it could very easily be disrupted. Once the immortal killer move's activation was disrupted, there would be backlash which often caused heavy injuries to the GU Immortal. Sha Fei Kuei had used the sparring rule, and was able to safely activate this immortal killer move. However, as he was activating the immortal killer move, Fang Yuan was also doing the same. Sha Fei Kuei activated Saw Light Wheel. At the same time, Fang Yuan could create 30-40,000 small tortoise shell thoughts. The outcome was obvious, the Saw Light Wheel was besieged and destroyed by over 6,000 small tortoise shell thoughts. Even a fool could compute the numbers here. The method which Sha Fei Kuei had placed his hopes in had ended up like this. This was so embarrassing. Chapter 13:11, Sha Clan retreats. Damn it, Sha Fei Kuei gritted his teeth. He had taken such efforts to activate Saw Light Wheel, but now it seemed like a joke. The small tortoise shell-like thoughts were still proliferating. 50,000, 60,000. Their numbers were increasing rapidly, not only covering the valley, they were even spreading beyond. Among the dense number of small tortoise shells, some were floating in the air while some were leisurely revolving. In the middle was Fang Yuan's divination tortoise transformation, with its huge body that was like an iron hill. I can't let it continue like this. Sha Fei Kuei was feeling an increasing sense of urgency. The speed of growth is too fast. No wonder Wu Yihai set this sparring rule, but Lord Sha Fei Kuei still has abilities yet to be used, the outcome of this battle is not certain yet. Sha Zhou Mo thought, looking at Sha Fei Kuei with anticipation. Sha Fei Kuei was already preparing his killer move. Countless GU worm auras rose and surged outwards. An arrogant look flashed past his eyes as he looked down at the divination tortoise. No matter how numerous, they are only thoughts, what can they do? Take this, 33 heavenly lights. Let me see how many layers of heavenly lights can your thoughts stop. Immortal killer move, 33 heavenly lights. It was one of the trump cards of Sha Fei Kuei and was renowned throughout southern border. Is he using it? Lord Sha Fei Kuei's area of effect method. Sha Zhou Mo was inwardly excited. This killer move was quite amazing. Once activated, from Sha Fei Kuei at the center, intense light would shoot out to the surroundings. Under the illumination of the light, all things would receive light path injuries. Intense lights would continue to flicker 33 times, with the illumination range continuing to increase. They were like lights descending from heaven, therefore it was called 33 heavenly lights. At the first flicker, the heavenly light's damage was not high, it could at most only kill some insects. But by the second flicker, its damage would increase and it could destroy plants and flowers. By the third flicker, birds and animals would die when exposed to the light. By the fourth flicker, large trees would be destroyed and boulders would crumble. The fifth flicker, sixth flicker. Like this, the power of the light would continue growing, until it threatened even desolate beasts and ancient desolate beasts. The small tortoise shell thoughts were hard, but they simply could not compare to desolate beasts, they would definitely be destroyed by the 33 heavenly lights. There was no doubt about it. Sha Fei Kuei was taking the easy route by using this move. 33 heavenly lights was actually not practical, because once it was activated, the GU Immortal had to stop moving. If they budged even a little, the killer move would immediately stop. Sha Fei Kuei would even suffer backlash. Naturally, the level of backlash also had differences. If the killer move was stopped before the 10th flicker, Sha Fei Kuei would suffer light injuries, stopping in between the 10th to 23rd flicker would inflict medium injuries, and stopping after the 23rd flicker would cause heavy injuries. After the 30th flicker, the backlash would be even stronger, and Sha Fei Kuei might suffer fatal injuries. The stronger the immortal killer move, the greater the danger from the backlash once its activation failed. Soon, the light burst forth. At the first flicker, Fang Yuan's tortoise shell thoughts remained unmoved. Second flicker, the thoughts were still growing and did not seem to stop. Third flicker, the thoughts started shaking. Fourth flicker, some thoughts started to crumble apart by themselves. Fifth flicker, hundreds of thoughts collapsed into nothingness. Sha Zhou Mo, who was watching from the side, could not help but smile at this scene. This was only the fifth flicker. The Immortal killer move altogether had 33 flickers. But why am I still feeling some unease? Sha Zhou pondered. Sixth flicker, 1,000 thoughts were destroyed, the tortoise shells on the periphery started to show signs of collapse. Seventh flicker, time to deal with you. Sha Fei Kuei sneered inwardly. But, right at this moment, swoosh, 80,000 small tortoise shell thoughts suddenly surged towards Fang Yuan like a tide. More accurately, they entered his mind. The divination tortoise he had transformed into was a wisdom path ancient desolate beast, its mind was incomparably spacious and holding 80,000 thoughts was nothing to it. What? Sha Fei Kuei was stunned. Sha Zhou patted his head as he hatefully exclaimed inwardly, I finally understand what made me uneasy. These small tortoise shells are thoughts in essence, since they are thoughts, the GU Immortal can store them back inside their mind. As a result, the 78,000 thoughts that filled the valley had completely disappeared and withdrawn into Fang Yuan's mind. Only an enormous divination tortoise was left, quietly lying on the ground. In the air, Sha Fei Kuei's Immortal killer move still continued. 7th flicker, 8th flicker, 9th flicker. But there were no thoughts, there was no meaning to these powerful lights. However, the Immortal killer move was still in the activation process and could not be carelessly stopped. As such, Sha Fei Kuei could only continue to activate the killer move. 10th flicker, 11th, 12th. It was an extremely awkward situation. After the 33rd flicker, Sha Fei Kuei had spent a large amount of immortal essence, while the divination tortoise hid inside its shell, motionless on the ground. The mountain valley he was inside had now been turned into a flat land. 33 heavenly lights was indeed powerful, it forcefully changed a vast surrounding area into a flat plain. The hills from before were completely gone. This killer move is truly powerful. Fang Yuan did not stint on his praise. While speaking, he stretched out his head, tail and limbs from inside the shell. These parts were not as strong as the tortoise shell, so during the stronger flickers, Fang Yuan hid inside, suffering no injuries. Hearing Fang Yuan's praise, Sha Fei Kuei immediately felt incomparably stifled. Too shameless. Sha Zhou gritted his teeth, looking at Fang Yuan hatefully. This was especially the case when he saw over 100,000 small tortoise shell thoughts surge out of Fang Yuan's mind and spread out, surrounding the divination tortoise. The hatred and fury in his eyes deepened by several degrees. How are we supposed to break his defense? The two GU immortals of Sha clan were pondering over this difficulty. You have used 3 moves. Fang Yuan indifferently reminded. Sha Fei Kuei shouted. Then take my following move. As he said so, he turned into a ray of light and pounced forward, attacking the divination tortoise from all directions. Countless tortoise shell thoughts were destroyed as they moved to defend him. But Sha Fei Kuei displayed an expert's demeanor, he moved back and forth around the thoughts, and could not be stopped. Fang Yuan saw that Sha Fei Kuei was serious and going at full force, he withdrew his head, tail and limbs back inside the shell. Sha Fei Kuei was stifled. This Wu Yihai was too wretched, leaving behind only the shell for him to target. A gigantic tortoise shell on the ground and countless small tortoise shells in the air, Sha Fei Kuei was increasingly beginning to feel hatred for tortoise shells. The 10th move was over, Sha Fei Kuei's efforts gave no result, while only some slight injury marks had appeared on Fang Yuan's tortoise shell. You win this time. Sha Fei Kuei directly left the scene with this sentence, flying into the sky. Sha Zhou, who was left behind, sighed, he had to clear the mess, at least, he had to take away that GU Master Zhang. 5 years. After 5 years, I will have to come back and find you. Sha Zhou also left, feeling somewhat indignant. Chapter 13:12. Ransacking Frosty Peak. Sha clan's GU immortals lost the spar and left without making a fuss. Fang Yuan stopped his transformation and returned to human form, returning to Frosty Peak. The mortal GU house at Frosty Peak was taken away, now only a snowy mountain remained with cold air emanating everywhere. Fang Yuan sighed softly, his heart was calm, like a well without a ripple. Victories were not worth him treasuring and bragging. The so-called sense of glory had already left him long ago. For such an easy victory to have happened, it is because I had the advantage. Know yourself and your enemy, and you will never be defeated. The two Sha clan GU immortals did not know Fang Yuan's strength, they could only estimate it. On the contrary, Fang Yuan knew a lot about them. Whether it be their killer moves, temperament or so on, he was thoroughly aware of them with the information from Wu clan. One could see how important information was in a battle between GU immortals. In fact, Fang Yuan's spar with the Sha clan GU immortals was like Immortal Yan Huang defeating Wu Yubo. Both won due to better intel. Wu Yubo was powerful, but his trump card killer move was seen through by others. As a result, one careless move and all was lost. Fang Yuan had even more information. He advanced step by step through his layers of planning, finally making the Sha Clan GU Immortals retreat. Immortal killer move Vajra Shell is quite effective, but it won't be easy to have such a good result in the future. Sha Clan's GU Immortals would definitely compile their experiences and insights to think of a way to restrict or even decipher and counter Vajra Shell. Deciphering and countering was difficult, but creating a restrictive method was often easy. Wu Yihai will also become more famous. This divination tortoise transformation and immortal killer move Vajra Shell are quite remarkable. But once I use them a lot of times, there is a high chance someone will find a way to restrict or even nullify it. Actually, the same applies to reverse flow protection seal. After the battle in Northern Plains, it is definitely being analyzed by the 10 great ancient sects, Longevity Heaven, Old Ancestor Shuihu and others. I should be somewhat careful the next time I use it, especially against these people. Fang Yuan was vigilant. Wu Yubo was a clear example to him. It was not easy to create an immortal killer move, but a powerful immortal killer move could not remain stagnant. It needed to be advanced and modified along with time. As such, when others use restrictive measures or even fully resolved your killer move, you could effectively face them. But modifying and advancing an immortal killer move was naturally also a difficult matter. Other than a burst of inspiration, what was truly put to test was the GU Immortal's attainment level. And the best way to raise one's attainment level is through dream realms. Fang Yuan's thoughts could not help but turn towards that giant dream realm again. Because of the widespread emergence of dream realms, there were all kinds of characters emerging one after the other during the 5 regions chaotic war in Fang Yuan's previous life, creating a great era filled with chaos and disorder. Unfortunately, it has not been long since I joined Wu Clan. Making a firm request to go to the Super GU formation would be suspicious. Although the matter of this frosty peak has ended, who knows when I can go back to the giant dream realm. It is better to deal with the matters at hand and otherwise go with the flow. Fang Yuan pondered while landing on Frosty Peak. This mountain peak was abundant in ice path resources. He still had not properly searched it. Fang Yuan had gotten this rare opportunity after chasing away the Sha Clan GU Immortals. He naturally would not give it up. Snow-filled Frosty Peak and the air was frighteningly cold. In the depths of this accumulated snow dwelled large numbers of insects, including many wild GU worms, as well as cold-resistant vegetation. They mutually formed a balanced ecology. Frost jades. Fang Yuan soon had harvests. A large number of frost jades appeared in his investigative perception. These frost jades were hidden below the thick snow, below the rocky ground. Frost jades are only a rank 5 GU material, but they have some frost jade essence inside, which is a rank 6 immortal material. Without any hesitation, Fang Yuan began collecting them. Rumble. The snow splattered everywhere, revealing the bare surface of the rocky ground. Soon, these rocks also flew everywhere and revealed the frost jades hidden in the mountain. These frost jades were white, with some green hue mixed within. They released intense frost energy, but naturally they were harmless to Fang Yuan. Fang Yuan picked up the frost jades in this area. Fang Yuan naturally did not give up the frost jade essence inside, it was just that he did not extract them and they were still inside the center of the giant frost jades. Next, Fang Yuan started searching throughout Frosty Peak. Enormous frost jades were dug out one after the other. The smallest frost jade was already the size of an elephant, while the bigger ones were the size of large ships. Almost every frost jade had frost jade essence inside it. Some frost jade essences were bigger, and there were even 1000-year frost jade essences, which were rank 7 GU materials. It was not that no one had discovered these frost jades, but they were intentionally preserved by Wu Clan to maintain the foundation of this Frosty Peak. It was these frost jades that formed the foundation of Frosty Peak. Without them, Frosty Peak would not be such a special and remarkable resource point. Fang Yuan took away most of the frost jades. Not only this, he also plundered many wild GU worms. There was no need to think about immortal GU. Normally speaking, Frosty Peak could only produce rank 6 immortal GU once in several hundred years to 1000 years. If there were really wild immortal GU, Sha Clan's GU immortals would not have accepted their defeat so easily. The majority of these GU worms were of ice path, there were also some of earth path and water path. Among the ice path GU worms, most of them were called cold wave GU. This type of GU worm formed groups and would often roam around in Frosty Peak. Thus, a severe wave of cold would spread out from Frosty Peak. This was also the reason for Frosty Peak's name. After he finished plundering, Fang Yuan flew to the air and took a last glance at this Frosty Peak. The picturesque frosty peak filled with white snow was now filled with pits of different depths, with rocks and debris filling the area. Not only was the scenery destroyed, the value of resources in Frosty Peak had dropped by over half, and because of the huge deficit, Frosty Peak's foundation was greatly damaged. If I use pulling mountain Immortal GU, I might be able to pull this mountain and store it in my sovereign blessed land. Unfortunately, I can't do that at the moment. My identity is Wu Yihai, a Wu clan member. I made huge profits this time by embezzlement. This has already reached the limits of the righteous path's unwritten rules and cannot be continued. If I really pulled the mountain, not to mention exposing my true identity, I definitely cannot justify my actions to Wu clan. Fang Yuan inwardly sighed and did not dwell on this as he flew away rapidly. Soon, his figure disappeared in the clouds. Several days later, Fang Yuan returned to Wu clan's headquarters and met Wu Yang. It is all thanks to you, brother, for protecting Frosty Peak for the clan and deterring those thieves. Wu Yang revealed an appreciative look towards Fang Yuan. You flatter me, it was only a fluke. Fang Yuan replied modestly. Elder Wu Fa, have you evaluated it? My brother's contribution was not a simple one, we should think in the perspective of the bigger picture. Wu Yang turned towards another Wu clan Gu Immortal. This Wu clan Gu Immortal had an ordinary appearance but his status was anything but ordinary. He was Wu Yang's trusted aide and was in charge of calculating the rewards and punishments for all the Gu Immortals in the clan. Wu Fa spoke with a slight frown. We have already seen Lord Wu Yihai's bravery. With this battle, Lord's name will definitely spread throughout southern borders Gu Immortal world. But if we talk about rewards, on one hand, Lord Wu Yihai has not completely settled this problem and only set a 5-year agreement. On the other hand, Frosty Peak has been viciously plundered, its foundation has been damaged and its value has greatly reduced. Oh, such a thing happened to Frosty Peak. Wu Yang turned towards Fang Yuan with a surprised look. Fang Yuan sighed. I also did not expect Sha clan's Gu Immortals to be such horrible people. Wu Yang frowned slightly. Brother, did you personally see Sha clan's Gu Immortals looting Frosty Peak? I did not, it is just my guess. Maybe it was other lone cultivators. Fang Yuan replied with no flaw in his argument. Wu Yang nodded and spoke after a brief silence. Since that is the case, Elder Wu Fa shall make the final decision. Elder Wu Fa calculated for a while before giving a detailed list to Fang Yuan. Chapter 13:13, Dragon Scale Sea Area. Fang Yuan took the list and skimmed through it. The list was filled with various kinds of Gu materials, most of them were naturally mortal Gu materials but there were a few immortal materials as well. Fang Yuan was well aware that if he had handed the frost jades, the frost jade essences and so on, the reward would not just be this. Wu Yang and Wu Fa were actually acting now. They were not scheming against Fang Yuan, but giving Fang Yuan a way to resolve this issue peacefully. Fang Yuan had plundered Frosty Peak, although it did not cross the bottom line. Wu clan would rather have an intact Frosty Peak. Fang Yuan, however, seemed to not know this and was silent for a while before he replied. I wonder if I can exchange these rewards for immortal Gu material, dragon scale soil. Wu Yang was slightly stumped, and looked at Wu Fa. The latter thought briefly and nodded. Returning to his home, Fang Yuan continued to cultivate. This time, he had obtained a lot of frost jades and frost jade essence. Fang Yuan might even be able to build a mini Frosty Peak in mini southern border within his sovereign immortal aperture. But this was not the important point. The important point was the dragon scale soil. This special type of soil was only an ordinary Gu material, grainy and tough. If a layer of dragon scale soil was viewed from afar, it would resemble overlapping dragon scales. Dragon scale soil was the soil that dragon-type desolate beasts, ancient desolate dragons, or even immemorial desolate dragons lived on, thus it had the aura of dragons. Fang Yuan had purchased this soil before, because this soil gave his dragonfish greater impulse to propagate. Right now, he did not take the other rewards, instead exchanging them for this Gu material because he had the same idea. The rate of time in the sovereign immortal aperture has slowed down by many times. This has led to a huge decrease in the production of resources. I don't have enough immortal essence reserves currently, the same goes for immortal essence stones, but the pressure in this aspect can be relieved if I expand the scale of my resource production. After Fang Yuan thought over it, he set dragonfish as the first resource point to be expanded. Desolate beast dragonfish as well as ordinary dragonfish were always traded in huge numbers in Treasure Yellow Heaven. Dragonfish seemed to be a product of food path, they could be used as supplementary ingredients to feed many Gu worms. Not every Gu immortal possessed immortal Gu, but every superforce would purchase large numbers of dragonfish at set intervals of time. The dragonfish trade was one of the largest markets in Treasure Yellow Heaven. During the following period of time, Fang Yuan would mainly concentrate on creating a sea area. Currently, mini Eastern Sea of the Sovereign Immortal Aperture was no longer filled with shallow pools and lakes like before. Because Fang Yuan had annexed large numbers of water path immortal apertures, mini Eastern Sea was filled with raging waves. Although the water level was not deep, it was a boundless aquatic expanse. There were almost no islands, and sea areas themselves were indistinguishable. Fang Yuan's plan was to construct a dragon-scale sea area. A man-made sea area. This was not Fang Yuan's innovation or creation. In fact, there were many GU Immortals in Eastern Sea's GU Immortal world creating man-made sea areas. On the current ranking list for Eastern Sea's GU Immortal world, many famous sea areas were man-made, built step by step. Of course, the naturally formed sea areas still held most of the positions in the ranking. Constructing a sea area artificially was not easy. Fang Yuan spent a large amount of time and energy to lay out the dragon-scale soil. Then he constructed a mortal GU formation in that area and used the GU formation's power to isolate this sea area and make it a special sea area. Then, he led his dragonfish group to this sea area. The dragonfish group was indeed more satisfied in this sea area, and there was a lot more mating. However, this was not enough. Next, Fang Yuan started to prepare an immortal killer move, Bountiful Year. This immortal killer move came from He Fan's true inheritance, but as a matter of fact, He Fan did not create it. He had traded for it with a GU Immortal great expert named Pill Immortal. He created this immortal killer move, and He Fan had exchanged for it with other resources. This was a quite rare killer move, as it was an immortal killer move that was specially used to manage the immortal aperture and did not have any offensive ability. But its practicality was extremely high. Even He Fan had left words of praise towards this immortal killer move in his true inheritance. GU worms rose one after the other, a mysterious aura swelled up and gradually thickened. The bountiful year Fang Yuan was using right now had gone through some modifications. The original bountiful year's core immortal GU was Year GU, with tens of thousands of supplementary GU worms. But now, Fang Yuan had obtained a rank 7 immortal GU, Perseverance, and he ingeniously added Perseverance immortal GU into the killer move as the first supplementary GU worm. More than 10 days later, Bountiful Year was fully activated. A mysterious power spread throughout the whole dragon-scale sea area, but its effects would take some time to be seen. Even He Fan required 2 to 3 days of time to activate the original Bountiful Year. This is already quite long. After I modified it by adding in Perseverance immortal GU, the time required has become even longer, approaching half a month. Fortunately, the activation succeeded and there was no backlash. Fang Yuan constantly reflected on his experiences. My time path attainment level is still ordinary. I was barely able to add in Perseverance immortal GU. This is the main reason for the enormous extension of time. The shorter the activation of an immortal killer move, the simpler the process, the higher the probability of the killer move's successful activation. And, as far as GU immortals were concerned, it was safer. However, Fang Yuan's action had more advantages than disadvantages. With Perseverance immortal GU's support, the duration of Bountiful Year's effect had doubled. The original Bountiful Year could only influence the immortal aperture for a year. But now, a single activation from Fang Yuan could last for 2 years. This had also covertly saved Fang Yuan a portion of Red Date Immortal Essence. There is still plenty of room for improvement in Bountiful Year. Adding in Perseverance immortal GU along with Day immortal GU could raise Bountiful Year's effect. But, with my current attainment level in time path, I have reached my limit. Forget it. The matter was settled. This construction was Fang Yuan's first big project. Right now, in Mini Eastern Sea, the first special sea area, dragon-scale sea area, had completely formed. Large numbers of dragonfish lived here, and there were 1 or 2 extremely conspicuous desolate beast dragonfish among the dragonfish group. Bountiful Year's effect did not just cover the dragon-scale sea area, it also included a vast range of this sea area's surroundings. According to what was written in He Fan's true inheritance, the expenditure of immortal essence to activate Bountiful Year was huge, but for the next year, starting right from the moment of successful activation of the killer move, all of the resources inside the immortal aperture would be produced at a higher rate. However, the result was not like this. Fang Yuan's Bountiful Year's effect only covered a portion of Mini Eastern Sea. On one hand, this was because Fang Yuan had added Perseverance immortal GU, which reduced the effective range of the killer move. On the other hand, the Sovereign Immortal Aperture was simply too vast. Wanting Bountiful Year to cover the whole Sovereign Immortal Aperture was no different to a fairy tale. From Dragon Scale Lake to Dragon Scale Sea, this was an enormous leap, and its significance was profound. But after this project, Fang Yuan's Immortal Essence stones and Immortal Essence reserves were almost dried up. To be safe, Fang Yuan began to sell all the unnecessary resources in his possession. Like the Frost Jades and Frost Jade Essences he had plundered in Frosty Peak, as well as large numbers of Ice Path Mortal GU. Where there are gains, there are losses. His current management focus was on Dragonfish. After selling some resources, Fang Yuan gritted his teeth. He used a portion of the gains to buy many dragonfish from Treasure Yellow Heaven. He placed these dragonfish in Dragon Scale Sea area. One could say he was staking a lot on this project. No doubt, this had some risks. But if he went at it safely, the efficiency would be lower. Moreover, he was in a safe and stable environment right now, so Fang Yuan chose to be slightly aggressive and took bigger steps. But like this, because his Immortal Essence reserves had become scarce, Fang Yuan appeared to have his hands tied, not being able to casually cultivate, comprehend, train any immortal killer moves and so on. Days seemed to pass with difficulty. After half a month, the first batch of dragonfish was sold, the situation began to turn for the better. After over a month, Fang Yuan sold the second batch of dragonfish directly to Wu Clan. Who could have thought you would be so proficient in managing dragonfish? Even Wu Yang was slightly surprised. Wu Clan did transactions of dragonfish to begin with, but previously, they had to buy from outside. Now, they could be considered internal sales. Besides Wu Clan, there were also Chao Clan and some other super forces which had close relations with Wu Clan. Fang Yuan's third batch of dragonfish was sold. Because of his identity as Wu Yihai and the low price, Fang Yuan's dragonfish smoothly entered the market of Southern Borders GU Immortal World. After the third batch of dragonfish was sold, Fang Yuan's situation had turned a lot better. His Immortal Essence reserves were expanding bit by bit. Fang Yuan was out of his financial predicament, and started to continue his cultivation with a brand new stance. Southern Border, Wu Clan. In a secret cultivation room, Fang Yuan was floating in the air, his expression solemn. His long hair was fluttering in the air, and all kinds of GU worm auras rose from his body, mixing with each other. The crucial step, Fang Yuan mumbled, his gaze turning sharp. He carefully activated a Mortal GU. This was a Metal Path Mortal GU and was only rank 1. Activating just this GU alone naturally had no risks. But the situation now was different. Bam! A muffled sound spread from Fang Yuan's body. Fang Yuan's body shook violently like he had been electrocuted, his expression was pale and a trace of blood flowed out from the corners of his lips. I failed again. He heaved a long sigh. He landed on the ground and held his chest while checking his injuries. Fortunately, I only used a rank 1 Mortal GU. These injuries are not much of a problem and there is no need to use man as before. I will recover in a couple of days with the Sovereign Immortal Body's recovery speed. Fang Yuan was attempting to further improve the killer move Vajra Shell. Immortal killer move Vajra Shell used rank 6 Vajra Thought as a core. Fang Yuan had relied on this killer move and strategy to defeat Sha Clan's GU Immortal, Sha Fei Kuei. After the matter, Fang Yuan had felt this killer move was still not satisfying enough and still had room for improvement. Fang Yuan paid attention to this feeling. He knew his wisdom path and transformation path were both at Grandmaster level. Such a feeling did not emerge from nowhere and had great value to him. Unfortunately, although I have made some progress over these days, there have been little to no results. It seems my attainment level is still not enough. I can only let it be for now. Fang Yuan let out a sigh. In fact, his speed of progress was extremely remarkable compared to other GU Immortals. In the past, Vicious Lightning Fiend had used up several years to deduce the immortal killer move Lightning Deity. He was not even at 10% of Fang Yuan's current speed. However, it was also a wise choice for Fang Yuan to give up. Because he had a way to rapidly raise his attainment, as long as he raised his attainment levels, he could improve the killer move Vajra Shell at once. After Fang Yuan's transactions of dragonfish, his financial condition had improved, and as such, he had spare energy to try modifying immortal killer moves. Deducing an immortal killer move was actually very resource-consuming. For instance, if the attempt failed, GU Immortal could suffer backlash and be injured. GU worms would also be destroyed and would need to be replenished. And if immortal GU were damaged, that would be even more troublesome. But if the attainment level was enough, the killer move could be improved at once, saving large amounts of time, effort and resources. Fang Yuan's attainment level barely met the requirements of improving Vajra Shell. Although he could improve it, he would have to pay quite a heavy price. He thought it over and resolutely gave up on this small project. After resting for a while, Fang Yuan activated his GU worms and sent his divine sense into Treasure Yellow Heaven. Inside Treasure Yellow Heaven, his divine sense moved nimbly and reached a GU Immortal's will to converse. I will pay 1,300 Immortal Essence Stones for all your divine deer fruits. Fang Yuan spoke. This GU Immortal Wills shook its head and said helplessly, the price I quoted is already low. You have already come here 3 times, if you really want to buy, add 200 Immortal Essence Stones and you can take them away. Divine deer fruits were rank 6 Immortal material. It was not a rare GU material, but there were few people who sold it because there was not much demand for it. Fang Yuan, however, needed it to feed Vajrathot Immortal GU. He had obtained Vajrathot Immortal GU and had to solve its feeding problem. Fang Yuan did not reply, instead, he sized up the products. The divine deer fruits in this stall were of good quality. Fang Yuan had strolled several times around Treasure Yellow Heaven and had found the divine deer fruits here were of top quality. The price was also quite reasonable. Thus, he had visited this stall several times. Divine deer fruits were about the size of a baby's fist and did not grow on trees or plants, instead growing on the antlers of a type of deer desolate beast, fruit deer. It was a deer that bore fruit. Fang Yuan had already inquired about the specific name of this desolate beast, and also saw them being sold in Treasure Yellow Heaven. However, even if he bought a batch of them, the number of divine deer fruits they could produce was a question that needed to be explored. Any resource had its own cultivation methods. For instance, Fang Yuan's dragonfish production was not a result of casual attempts, but was from the insights and experiences of Dongfang tribe. This was the accumulation of a super tribe. As a result, Fang Yuan's dragonfish were of the best quality, and the production was also smooth, giving higher profits while requiring slightly lower capital. I should just buy a portion of divine deer fruits for now to deal with the first feeding of Vajrathot Immortal GU. When I have sufficient funds in the future, I can consider how to raise fruit deers and be able to be self-sufficiently provide for Vajrathot Immortal GU. As for whether I can turn this divine deer fruits production into another source of income, that would depend on future opportunities. Fang Yuan pondered while communicating with that GU Immortal will, then, let me check again. But at this time, the GU Immortal will in front of Fang Yuan suddenly shook and spoke. My main body's divine sense has entered, he says he can discuss the price with you. You should talk it out between yourselves. Saying this, the GU Immortal's will took a back seat. Fang Yuan was overjoyed. He was waiting for this situation. The GU Immortal who was selling the divine deer fruits had left the divine deer fruits in Treasure Yellow Heaven and also left a will to look after them. But although this will could think and communicate, it had to strictly abide by the bottom line price set by its main body, and this was not negotiable. But now that the GU Immortal's divine sense had come over, Fang Yuan could properly communicate with him about many things. There were many contents up for discussion. I want the divine deer fruits to feed Immortal GU. If we can reach a consensus, this absolutely won't be the last transaction. How about it? I will offer 1,300 Immortal Essence Stones. Fang Yuan started to negotiate. The GU Immortal hesitated. This is our first interaction, how can I believe you based on just empty promises? Forget it, we can reach a deal for 1,400 Immortal Essence Stones. Once we have transacted 3 times like this, the price can be lowered to 1,300. What do you think? Clearly, this GU Immortal was not foolish and was quite astute. Fang Yuan refused. If I had ample funds, I would not be haggling with you like this. How about 1,350? That GU Immortal forced a smile. All right. If not for my urgent need for funds and the fact that these divine deer fruits are selling slowly, I would not have agreed to your price. One gave the money and the other handed the goods. Fang Yuan let out a sigh of relief after the transaction was completed. The feeding problem of Vajrathot Immortal GU was settled for the moment. Now, it was Divination Tortoise Shell Immortal Gu's turn. This Immortal GU fed on kelp. Naturally, it was not common kelp, but ancient ink kelp, which was a rank 6 immortal material. This kelp was complete black like ink, and when its skin was torn, it would dye the surrounding water into pitch black ink. Fang Yuan was currently short on funds, so he intended to purchase and store some ancient ink kelps to feed Divination Tortoise Shell Immortal GU. He would consider more in the future. In the aspect of food, Day Immortal GU was much more pleasant. Because it fed on the water of the River of Time, there was no need to think about obtaining its food. In comparison to divine deer fruits, there were many more sellers of ancient ink kelps in Treasure Yellow Heaven. But Fang Yuan was not able to make a deal with any of them. The issue was the price. But he was not in a hurry, there was still some time left before the next feeding of divination tortoiseshell Immortal GU. Fortunately, Dragon Scale Sea Area's construction is finished. As long as it continues to develop like this, I will have plenty of funds in the future. Next is the construction of coiling thread caves to produce regretful spiders on a large scale. Fang Yuan had considered it. The market for regretful spiders was huge, especially over in Western Desert. Although the demand was not as large as dragonfish, it was still a lot. But for the moment, Fang Yuan was tight on funds and needed some time to accumulate his wealth before he could start this project. According to this situation, I estimate that it will be over a month before I am able to gather the first sum of funds and start on the construction of coiling thread caves. Hopefully, Wu clan would have stabilized by then and would let me return to the giant dream realm. Wu Yihai's identity restricted Fang Yuan's freedom. Especially under the current situation of Wu clan, it was not good for him to voice out his intention. Over the course of this month, Wu Yang had led Wu clan to deal with the problems created by the various super forces. There were losses and gains, Wu clan's prestige sank, but in truth, there was not much damage to their benefits. Thus, this situation was still continuing. Wu Yang wanted to regain their reputation, while other super forces were not satisfied and wanted to seize some material benefits. The confrontation between righteous path forces was different from the demonic path. Confrontations in the demonic path were fierce and violent, while righteous path confrontations were light like drizzle and often lasted for a long time. Especially when it was a confrontation between super forces with huge assets, it was difficult for them to fight against each other without reservations, they would not fight to the death. Fang Yuan's idle cultivation lifestyle did not last for long. Some days later, he received another task from Wu Yang. Mount Snail, mountain-moving old monster. Fang Yuan's brows slowly started to furrow. It was not that he did not have the confidence to complete this task, but the current trend of situations was not looking good. Previously, though Fang Yuan had resolved Frosty Peak's matter, he had in fact withheld his strength and methods, obtaining a barely passable result. He had only created an agreement of 5 years and had plundered the resources of Frosty Peak. Although this was an unwritten rule of the righteous path, he had touched the bottom line. This was naturally Fang Yuan's intent, to leave a bad impression on Wu Yang. Higher-ups did not like using such people, and if they sent Fang Yuan away to the Super GU formation earlier, it would match Fang Yuan's wish. But Wu clan was indeed short on manpower at present, while its territory was too large. A matter concerning Mount Snail had happened suddenly. Wu Yang had no choice but to use Fang Yuan to deal with this problem. Chapter 13-15, Convincing Old Monster. Southern Border. Light rain was drizzling on a range of verdant mountains. Fang Yuan wore a blue robe, and was gazing at these grand rivers and mountains from atop a rock, before his gaze finally settled on a mountain. This mountain was rather special. The mountain peaks beside it were either tall or short, steep or slanted. But this mountain was round in shape. This was Mount Snail. Or it could be considered a snail mountain. It was an immemorial desolate beast. It was an enormous river snail with a tall, tower-like spiral shell drenched with green moss. When it stayed still, its body would hide in the shell, looking like a towering mountain. Right now, it was awake and was slowly moving. Rumble. As it moved, all the surroundings quaked slightly, birds and beasts fled in disorder. Fang Yuan was calmly looking at the movement of this immemorial desolate beast, Mount Snail, from another mountain peak. Its speed was slow. Mount Snail might be an immemorial desolate beast, but its temperament was simple and mild. It was hard to anger it, it could even be said to be harmless. Not only harmless, it also provided benefits. Because Mount Snail's body was full of enslavement path and earth path Dao marks, which created a special environment around it that would spawn many enslavement path and earth path resources. Mount Snail's ownership had all the while been an unsettled issue. Few GU Immortals could control Mount Snail. It was very difficult for even rank 8 enslavement path GU Immortals. Because Mount Snail itself was full of enslavement path Dao marks. There were already 7 known Mount Snails in Southern Border. Long ago, Southern Border's super forces had set an agreement. As long as these Mount Snails were not controlled by anyone, that is to say, they were wild Mount Snails, they would be considered as a resource of the clan whose territory it was staying in. This Mount Snail was originally living in Wu clan's territory, naturally it belonged to Wu clan. There was no doubt about this. But now, it was time for the Mount Snail's migration. It was currently leaving Wu clan's territory for other territories. Mount Snail's original location was at the periphery of Wu clan's territory. In fact, during Wu Dushu's time, Wu clan had intentionally expanded their territory to include this Mount Snail. Currently, Mount Snail was leaving Wu Clan's territory, but the place it was going to did not have other righteous path super forces. This also meant this Mount Snail was going to become wild again. Wu Yong naturally did not want to see such a situation happening, and under the situation where he did not have enough manpower, without other options, he could only assign this task to his younger brother, Wu Yihai. Wu Yihai, I am Qin Jin Shang, I am also called Mountain Moving Old Monster. A GU Immortal flew over from another mountain peak. Fang Yuan gazed at the GU Immortal. This old GU Immortal was adorned in a suit of rocky gray armor, his hair was a mix of black and white, looking messy like straws. He looked slovenly, with the corners of his clothes being in shreds. But the rank 7 aura he gave out was majestic and forceful, especially his eyes which shone with sharp light. Right now, as he looked at Fang Yuan, it was like a senior sizing up a junior. It is me indeed, Wu Yihai, I greet Senior Mountain Moving. Fang Yuan bowed slightly, his greeting had the style of the righteous path. This mountain moving old monster's title had old in it naturally was because he was an old veteran, an old senior, having lived for over 2,000 years. He had lifespan GU and also had unique lifespan extension methods. His battle strength was also very high and he was a famous expert among lone immortals, almost at the level of old Treeman Bada and Wu Clan's Wu Yubo. Rank 7 GU immortals like Sha Fei Kuei could not compare to Mountain Moving Old Monster. Thus, when Mountain Moving Old Monster sized up Fang Yuan, he was not humble and treated himself as a senior, even if Fang Yuan came from Wu Clan. Considering the time, it was time your Wu Clan sent someone as well. Let's sit and talk. Mountain Moving Old Monster laughed and sat on a rock. Fang Yuan smiled and also sat down. Mountain Moving Old Monster saw that Fang Yuan had no objection to sitting on a rock and also did not have a high and mighty attitude. His impression of Fang Yuan improved. I almost forgot you were a lone cultivator, although you have joined Wu Clan, you don't have the hypocritical attitude of those Righteous Path members. Fang Yuan slightly shook his head. The Righteous Path has to act like the Righteous Path. As for me, I spent most of my time as a secluded cultivator in Eastern Sea, these habits cannot be changed. Ha ha ha, Mountain Moving Old Monster laughed heartily. I hear you chased away the 2 GU immortals from Sha Clan, but plundered the resources of Frosty Peak. Fang Yuan revealed a surprised expression. Senior, these are groundless rumors, I have never stated that. Mountain Moving Old Monster laughed loudly, before heaving a deep sigh. The Righteous Path GU immortals can't understand you, but I understand. How difficult is it for us lone cultivators to become an immortal? We have to earn every cultivation resource with our own hands. There won't be future opportunities, so we need to grasp the present benefits with all our strength. Who knows what will happen in the future? As for those Righteous Path GU immortals, even if they stay in their homes, plenty of resources are provided to them. How could they understand the pain and difficulties we lone cultivators face? Fang Yuan's expression was calm, he did not praise nor did he retort. He knew that Mountain Moving Old Monster's words were absolutely not just to get close to him, but to express his resolve. He, Mountain Moving Old Monster, was a lone cultivator and the present benefit in front of him was this Mount Snail. His resolve could not be shaken, and the former lone cultivator, Wu Yihai, should be aware of it. I am clear of your intention, Senior, but I still have to ask you to have some understanding, I have my own difficulties in coming here. Fang Yuan spoke. Mountain Moving Old Monster snickered. Everyone has their own difficulties. With age and experience, one's words would carry deeper meaning. Everyone has their own difficulties. Not only was it replying to Fang Yuan's words, it also meant he, himself, had his own difficulties, and more importantly, it was also indicating that Wu Clan was currently in a difficult situation. Fang Yuan did not speak anymore. Sometimes, silence was a tactic which could be used in a confrontation between words. Sure enough, Mountain Moving Old Monster could not sit still and handed an information path Mortal GU to Fang Yuan. Take a look at it. The contents listed in this Mortal GU had high value. If Fang Yuan obtained them, he could directly construct coiling thread caves. We will cooperate, I will take Mount Snail and you will get these, what do you think? Mountain Moving Old Monster smiled. He was actually trying to bribe Fang Yuan. But this was not strange. Instead, it fell within Fang Yuan's expectations. Mountain Moving Old Monster was a lone cultivator, and from his point of view, he naturally did not want to offend the #1 Righteous Path super force, Wu Clan. Despite Wu Clan currently being in a predicament, such a colossal force was not something Mountain Moving Old Monster could threaten by himself. More importantly, if Mountain Moving Old Monster obtained this Mount Snail, he would no longer be a person who could freely move. Mount Snail could not be stored inside an immortal aperture, unless it was completely subdued. Mountain-moving old monster was an Earth Path GU immortal, he clearly did not have such attainment. Like this, he would become the owner of this Mount Snail, and would have to defend it if someone attacked it in the future. If he offended Wu Clan's GU immortals would attack in waves, how could he defend against them by himself? Even if he could defend once, what about the second time, the third time? Even if he was able to defend against them all, there would be losses in battle. Would mountain-moving old monster still have time to cultivate if he were to be disturbed repeatedly? As such, there was only one option in front of mountain-moving old monster. That was to negotiate with Wu Clan. Wu Clan did not want to let go of this Mount Snail, but even the large Wu Clan was an organization formed by its clansmen. And so long as it was an organization, it could not be an airtight fortress, there would naturally be chinks in the armor. Wu Yihai's arrival gave even greater hope to mountain-moving old monster. Senior, you want to use these to exchange for an immemorial desolate beast? Fang Yuan held the information path mortal GU and said with a faint smile. The resources inside are very valuable. This Mount Snail might be an immemorial desolate beast, but who can control it? If I become its owner, I will also only be taking the resources produced by it. Naturally, we can talk if you have any conditions. Mountain-moving old monster's eyes glimmered brightly, his attitude turning much warmer. Since Fang Yuan had not directly refused, mountain-moving old monster cheered inwardly and had much higher hope. The contents inside this list needs to be doubled at least. This was Fang Yuan's first condition. Mountain-moving old monster immediately frowned. Mount Snail cannot be yours in name, it will still belong to Wu Clan. This was Fang Yuan's second condition. Mountain-moving old monster's eyes opened wide, his warm expression suddenly changing to that of anger. But in truth, Senior, you will be this mountain's owner, the benefits will mostly go to you, but you need to hand over a portion of the resources to our Wu Clan every year. This was Fang Yuan's third condition. Mountain-moving old monster began to sneer, his expression had turned dark. Wu Yihai, are you playing with me? Of course not. Fang Yuan had a sober expression, he stood up and looked at mountain-moving old monster's eyes with no fear. Senior, may I ask 3 questions? Mountain-moving old monster barely restrained his anger. Speak. Senior, first, you are a lone person not affiliated with any super force, how could my Wu Clan leave Mount Snail in your hands? It would be alright if it were a super force, but letting a lone cultivator take benefits would negatively affect my Wu Clan's prestige. Second, even if you can take possession of this Mount Snail for the moment, how long can you defend it? Even if my Wu Clan doesn't interfere with you, what about the other super forces? Third, Senior, do you think that by only bribing me, the whole of Wu Clan will simply watch from the sidelines? Mountain-moving old monster fell into silence. After a long while, he sighed and spoke with a hoarse voice. Then if we go with your idea, wouldn't I become the guard for your Wu Clan's mountain? Fang Yuan smiled lightly. It is just some insignificant reputation. How could everything go perfectly? The conditions I mentioned are actually not excessive, it is because I considered how I was also once a lone cultivator. The question is, do you want face or real benefits? Please consider it properly. Mountain-moving old monster fell into silence. This time, the silence lasted an even longer time, only when the light drizzle gradually stopped, he spoke. Alright, we will go according to your idea. Chapter 13:16, Moon Festival. A few days later. Looking at Mount Snail loudly moving away, and mountain-moving old monster standing on top of it with an owner's air, Fang Yuan retracted his gaze and started to leave. Mount Snail's matter had been settled. With Fang Yuan as the representative, Wu Clan had reached an agreement with mountain-moving old monster. Mountain-moving old monster obtained most of the benefits of Mount Snail, but this immemorial desolate beast still belonged to Wu Clan in name. Wu Yang had assigned Fang Yuan to retain Mount Snail. Fang Yuan had retained it, although it was only a portion, it could be considered as completing the task. Mountain-moving old monster agreed to my conditions because of Wu Clan's force behind me. As for Wu Yang, he is currently worn out by dealing with the difficulties created by other super forces. He has no choice but to forcibly acknowledge the resolution of Mount Snail. Wu Clan is in a grave situation at present, as Wu Yang's brother, I should not idle around outside and must return as quickly as possible. Fang Yuan was thoroughly satisfied with the outcome of this matter. He had an explanation to hand to Wu Clan, and more importantly, he had reaped many benefits from this task. He could already begin the construction of coiling thread caves. Because of these resources, Fang Yuan immediately had spare funds to engage in a large-scale expansion of his second major resource. According to the previous development speed, he would have had to wait more than half a year. And in this duration, there could not be any unexpected mishaps. For instance, intense battle would consume a lot of red data mortal essence. The rate of time in Fang Yuan's sovereign immortal aperture was slowed down at present. The amount of red data mortal essence he produced was a lot less than before, and Fang Yuan needed to use immortal essence stones to turn them into red data mortal essence. Now, his immortal essence was no longer green grape immortal essence. 100 immortal essence stones were required to turn into 1 bead of red data mortal essence. I need to arrange the GU formation to construct the coiling thread caves. I also need rank 6 immortal material dark soft silk and rank 7 immortal material regret water rocks. With these funds, all this can be completed and it is only a matter of time. The important thing is, when can I return to the dream realm? Wu Yong's attitude is the crucial factor. Fang Yuan thought as he moved forward. Right as he was on his way back, in the headquarters of Wu clan, 2 GU immortals were currently talking about him, Wu Yihai. One was Wu clan's rank 8 GU immortal, first supreme elder Wu Yong. The other was Wu Yong's trusted aide, Wu Fa. Who could have thought my brother would resolve Mount Snail's matter so quickly? Elder Wu Fa, as per the clan rules, how should we reward him? Wu Yong asked. Wu Fa was silent for a moment. He knew that Wu Yong's question was not superficial, he was asking about his attitude towards Wu Yihai. He was testing Wu Fa. Because Wu Yihai's identity was special, he and Wu Yong were half-siblings. Wu Fa quickly thought and replied, Lord Wu Yihai has a lone cultivator background. One sentence. But Wu Yong laughed heartily. Right, your remark is correct. Yihai has a lone cultivator's disposition. Even after returning to the clan, he has not changed and is always thinking of quickly making cash and eyeing up cheap benefits. Wu Fa, however, did not agree. Frosty Peak and Mount Snail are not small benefits. Wu Yong's laughter stopped, and a sharp light flashed in his eyes as he nodded. That is indeed not good. If everyone were to be like this, how would Wu clan continue to exist? But he did not overstep the bottom line and has not left behind any weaknesses that could be exposed. As he said this, Wu Yong sighed and remarked, he has some ability. How could Wu Fa not realize Wu Yong's meaning? Wu Yong naturally could not be pleased at seeing Fang Yuan use the situation to his advantage. But the situation left him no choice. He was lacking manpower and sometimes had no choice but to send Wu Yihai to deal with some matters. Fang Yuan had also revealed his ability by handling these two matters. This ability had obtained Wu Yong's acknowledgement, so Wu Yong would still continue to use Fang Yuan. But when the time arrives and Wu clan's situation eases up, Fang Yuan would be cast aside by Wu Yong, to the extent that if Fang Yuan were to leave behind any evidence, Wu Yong would grasp the opportunity and deal a huge blow to Fang Yuan. After all, no higher-up would feel comfortable with someone like Fang Yuan, who sought after personal gains. Fang Yuan successfully returned to Wu clan. He met with Wu Yong and described the whole matter briefly, and obtained a reward from Wu clan once again. Fang Yuan chose to exchange for immortal essence stones. Naturally, this sum of immortal essence stones could not compare to what he had obtained from mountain-moving old monster, it was far too few. Over the following days, Fang Yuan cultivated in peace. The construction of the coiling thread caves was slowly progressing. This was his current focus. Every set interval of time, Fang Yuan would have to place his immortal aperture to absorb heaven and earth qi, stabilizing the sovereign immortal aperture. After all, Reverse Flow River was a secluded domain of heaven and earth, it was extremely taxing on the immortal aperture. This matter was slightly troublesome. Fang Yuan could not directly absorb heaven and earth qi, because the amount he absorbed every time was huge and the interval between them was also short. As such, Fang Yuan had to search for some immortal materials in Treasure Yellow Heaven, disintegrating them into heaven and earth qi to infuse into himself. This no doubt consumed a lot of Fang Yuan's spare energy and finances, but he would rather do this carefully. This was the only way he could stick around long enough and avoid showing any flaws that could let others expose his identity. Days passed by, Fang Yuan started to feel somewhat impatient. The problems on the giant dream realm's end have already settled down. But Wu Yong does not seem to show any signs of letting me return. Looks like what I was worried about happened after all. Sigh. Fang Yuan sighed. In this world, people often had no choice. Wu Yong was busy dealing with difficulties from all sides, doing everything to stabilize the situation. If he let Fang Yuan return, and a problem occurred on the Super GU formation's end, would he not be creating trouble for himself? Moreover, Wu Yong saw Fang Yuan had some ability and wanted to continue letting him deal with some problems. As for Fang Yuan embezzling resources while doing the tasks, Wu Yang was turning a blind eye to it for now and did not look into it. He did not pursue it, but Fang Yuan wanted him to. Looking at the reason Fang Yuan disguised as Wu Yihai and entered Wu Clan, wasn't it for the dream realm? It seems I need to make a move. On this day, Fang Yuan left his residence. For the policies of higher-ups, there were countermeasures. Fang Yuan was an old fox, how could he not have a method to respond to this? Around 12 days later, in a pavilion on Yuhua Mountain, several GU immortals were seated around a stone table. Warm moonlight flowed down like water. Night birds cried out in the lush green hills. Soft wind brushed past, the view was beautiful beyond imagination. Today is Southern Border's yearly Moon Festival 1, it is my fortune to enjoy this festival with all our honorable guests. Chao Silu said with a smile. Her voice was beautiful like the soft murmurs of mountain springs, giving a pure feeling. Her appearance was even more beautiful, dressed in a pure white brocade dress, along with her exquisite features, it gave a feeling of a fairy from mortal tales. Being able to receive Fairy Silu's invitation to enjoy the Moon Festival together is my, Luo Muzi's, honor. A GU immortal with the looks of a young man spoke. His smile was glowing with enthusiasm, particularly the gaze he had when looked at Chao Silu, it was scorching hot. Chao Silu was one of the 3 publicly recognized top beauties in Southern Border's GU immortal world, what stood out even more was her background. Chao Clan, although affiliated with Wu Clan, was also a righteous path superforce. Among the 6 GU immortals present, there were 2 women and 4 men, other than the one couple, Luo Muzi and Lun Fei were pursuers of Chao Silu. There were many pursuers of Chao Silu, but being able to receive an invitation to this festival from her showed these 2 were not at the same level as the rest. Luo Muzi and Lun Fei were naturally happy, they came rushing over immediately when they received Chao Silu's invitation. But at this moment, Chao Silu spoke to another male GU immortal. Yihai, you said you wanted to integrate yourself into Southern Border, tonight's Moon Festival is a custom of Southern Border. Southern Border has a lot of mountains, separated from each other, but the Moon Festival is a common custom. Every year, at this time, we will all appreciate the moon. Her eyes were glistening with light, her soft voice and her smiling rosy lips created an extraordinary image. Luo Muzi and Lun Fei immediately frowned, as they rigidly stared at Fang Yuan with eyes that could burst into flames. Chao Silu's differing attitude could be clearly seen by anyone who had eyes, moreover, the seating arrangement had already put Luo Muzi and Lun Fei in a bad mood. Because on the main seat was Chao Silu and on her right seat was Fang Yuan, while to her left was her best friend, Fairy Tian Lu. As for the other male GU immortals, their seats were arranged quite far away. Moon Festival. Fang Yuan's expression was indifferent, he asked even though he already knew. Interesting, what do we do besides appreciating the moon? We drink tea, recite poems, and also dissect rocks. Chao Silu explained with a smile. Dissect rocks? Fang Yuan looked puzzled. Chao Silu did not reply, instead she handed a cup of fragrant tea to Fang Yuan. First, please taste my personally brewed tea. Luo Muzi almost stood up at this sight. Lun Fei's eyelids twitched violently, wishing he could be in Fang Yuan's place. Fang Yuan took a light sip of the tea and commented, this tea is not bad. Only not bad. This is Fairy Silu's renowned willow spiral tea. Luo Muzi almost yelled. Is there something special that I am unaware of? Fang Yuan looked at Chao Silu. Chao Silu met Fang Yuan's gaze, before her eyes turned and she laughed softly. Lun Fei's heart started beating faster at the fairy's charming laughter. At this moment, Fairy Tian Lu aptly chirped. This willow spiral tea, if you lightly shake it, a whirlpool will form on the surface of the tea in the appearance of a willow leaf. You will only get the true extraordinary taste of the tea when you drink it at that time. Oh, so it was like that. Fang Yuan shook the cup in his hand, and immediately, there was a change on the surface of the tea. He drank it then, and felt the fragrance overflow in his mouth, giving him a pleasant aftertaste and satisfaction. Great tea, Fang Yuan praised. Of course it is a great tea, Fairy Silu's personally brewed tea is not something just anyone can get to drink. Luo Muzi sourly said. To be able to receive your praise, Silu's efforts were not wasted. You should know that you need to spend 6 hours to make this tea and you cannot be even the slightest bit careless during the whole process. Fairy Tian Lu said. Lun Fei was extremely moved. It is truly my lifetime's honor to be able to taste Fairy Silu's personally brewed willow spiral tea tonight. Fairy Tian Lu's eyebrows immediately rose. Who said you can taste the willow spiral tea? Silu took out some time from her busy schedule to make this one cup. Chapter 13-17, Tea Competition. Chao Si Lu only made 1 cup of willow spiral tea, which was given to Fang Yuan. Such a brewing method immediately changed the significance of this cup of willow spiral tea. Fang Yuan's expression slightly changed, showing flattered joy on his face, but his mind was tranquil with no ripples. This is truly a pity. No matter how beautiful you are, without eternal life, you will just be a pile of bones in the end. Beauty is superficial, but people cannot stop indulging in it. But this fairy Tian Lu is indeed Chao Si Lu's best friend, their coordination is remarkable. The only cup of brewed tea was given to Fang Yuan by Fairy Si Lu, Luo Muzi and Lun Fei, who were still thinking of tasting the tea, however, obtained such a reply. Their expressions had become quite stiff at this moment. Chao Si Lu smiled. The willow spiral tea was only a token of goodwill. I have brought bewitching tea for everyone, please have a taste. She waved her silk sleeve, 5 servings of tea appeared on the table. This tea was different from willow spiral tea, it was not in a cup, but in a white porcelain dish. At the center of this dish was a fist-sized dewdrop. This dewdrop was lustrous like a jade, its surface wobbling slightly against the night wind, looking delicate. Bewitching tea is a renowned tea of Chao clan, to think I could have a taste tonight. Luo Muzi gave himself an excuse, but in fact, his gaze was still fixed on that cup in front of Fang Yuan. Lun Fei had already tightly clenched his fists below the table, grinding his teeth as he raised the small porcelain dish and took a sip of the bewitching tea. Good tea, he exclaimed, but his expression was slightly rigid. In fact, bewitching tea was multiple grades higher than willow spiral tea, the latter was only Chao Si Lu's creation, while the former was Chao clan's signature tea. A Superforce's signature tea was naturally more outstanding than the tea created by Chao Si Lu, a single GU Immortal. However, as far as Luo Muzi and Lun Fei were concerned, they would rather give up 100 servings of bewitching tea to drink a serving of willow spiral tea. Bewitching tea is really refreshing and has endless aftertaste. Si Lu, how can I take out my Aurora tea when you brought out this tea? Fairy Tian Lu smiled. Chao Si Lu, however, was not the slightest bit polite to this best friend of hers. Just don't take it out then, I am already tired of drinking your Aurora tea. Right now, I am anticipating Sheng Lu's drunken flowers tea. It is rumored this tea was a creation from his inspiration when he fell in love at first sight with you. I wonder if I might have the opportunity to taste it today. I am ashamed. Sheng Lu rubbed his nose, giving a bitter smile. My drunken flowers tea is a crude creation, it is not exquisite enough for today. Fairy Tian Lu also smiled while covering her mouth. Si Lu, you are making things difficult for my darling Lu, this won't do. Only I can drink drunken flowers tea, outsiders can stop dreaming about it. Her face showed pride and love as she said this. GU Immortal Sheng Lu, who was beside her, looked lovingly at Fairy Tian Lu, they were already holding their hands below the table. Chao Si Lu gave a deep sigh. Oh, I wonder when I will meet a person who will create a tea for me. There was a sense of dejectedness in her soft query. At this moment, moonlight shone into the pavilion. A beauty sighing softly under the moonlight was truly a very lovable sight. Luo Muzi and Lun Fei felt their bodies heating up. Luo Muzi even stood up. Fairy Si Lu, I have a tea which is called 9 Recollecting Fragrances. It is my own creation, Fairy, I would like to offer it to you on this auspicious occasion. Not willing to be left behind, Lun Fei also quipped in. I also have prepared my tea, this is yin-yang tea, there is a clear distinction between yin and yang, Fairy, please have a taste. These 2 GU Immortals only offered the tea to Chao Si Lu, just like Chao Si Lu had given her willow spiral tea to Fang Yuan. Chao Si Lu took a sip of both tea, and said with a smile, 9 Recollecting Fragrances is aptly named, the moment the tea enters the mouth, fragrances coil around the tongue. Tasting it carefully, there are actually 9 moments when the fragrances intensify, it is really extraordinary. Haha, Fairy, it is not worthy of such praise from you. Luo Muzi laughed heartily, his previous bad mood swept away completely. Chao Si Lu then said to Lun Fei, Yin-yang tea, although it is not a unique creation, I have heard of it before. There are 3 levels to brewing this tea. First level is when yin and yang are obscure. Second layer is when yin and yang are separate. Third level is when yin contains yang, and yang contains yin and yang revolving around each other. Lun Fei, your skill can be seen for being able to achieve the second level of brewing this tea. There are probably less than 10 people who can achieve that in the whole of southern border, worthy of a food path GU Immortal like you. Tea, wine, delicacies, in this world, they were naturally not ordinary. There were countless ways to brew tea. It was not as simple and shallow as putting tea leaves in hot water. Like the tea discussed by the Immortals in the pavilion, willow spiral tea, bewitching tea, drunken flowers, 9 recollecting fragrances and yin-yang tea, they were all incomplete GU recipes. And when these GU recipes were completed, and the GU Immortal brewed tea at that time, they could refine food path GU worms. Food path was one of the many cultivation paths, it was just that it had never flourished. Although it was extremely significant and there was a lot of interests in it, unfortunately, because of historical reasons, there were very few food path inheritances left in the world. This Lun Fei's main cultivation is actually food path. Fang Yuan gave Lun Fei a quick glance, feeling slightly surprised inwardly. What is this guy's origin? I have many immortal GU, if I could obtain his food path inheritance, it might be a huge help to me. Fang Yuan immediately had malicious intent. Even if you had no intention to harm others, they might still want to harm you. Fang Yuan was somewhat moved. His current strength was already among the best below rank 8. When he activated reverse flow protection seal, although his offensive methods were still weaker, he could stand toe-to-toe with Feng Zhuzhe. I need to first check Lun Fei's background and see if I can make a move against him or not. If I can, Wu Yihai's identity must not be implicated. With Wu Yihai's identity, Fang Yuan definitely could not brazenly kill Lun Fei. Because he was a righteous path GU Immortal GU, and could not adopt demonic path methods. A super force had much more robust strength than a lone immortal, but these forces usually did not lightly offend any GU Immortal. The same went for Wu Clan. A super force had huge assets and businesses, if a GU Immortal could not be killed and escaped, they could destroy many resources of the super force and be a huge headache to the super force. Wu Yang had this consideration as well when he accepted Fang Yuan's idea of giving some concessions to mountain-moving old monster in regards to Mount Snail. It is better to probe and determine the value of Lun Fei's inheritance. If it is not high, forget it. If the value is high and I am to make a move, I need to be absolutely careful to not let his soul self detonate. There was no need to think about immortal GU, they could not be obtained. But Fang Yuan could kill Lun Fei and capture his soul, to obtain the food path inheritance by soul searching. Fang Yuan had always held food path inheritances in high expectations. Unfortunately, due to a lack of fortuitous encounters, he could do nothing about it. Since there were no fortuitous encounters, then he had to make a move himself and rob others. Fang Yuan did not have any feeling of guilt. Many GU Immortals were particular about not attacking others if others did not attack them. However, Fang Yuan was someone who, even if others did not attack him, would go attack them. I brewed this tea over 7 days and 7 nights, Fairy, now being able to receive your praise, it was all worth it. Lun Fei's tone was slightly shaking with excitement. He then looked at Fang Yuan and said with a hint of challenge, I wonder what tea Lord Wu Yihai is going to show us. He had not even the slightest idea that Fang Yuan was already brewing thoughts of killing him. Eastern Sea is the most plentiful region in terms of resources. Wu Yihai has lived in Eastern Sea for many years, any tea he brings out will definitely surpass others and be the top tea. Luo Muzi sat back and spoke with enthusiasm. Fang Yuan smiled. These two were Chao Silu's pursuers. After realizing Fang Yuan's threat, they had tacitly allied to put Fang Yuan in an awkward situation. They praised Fang Yuan highly, making it difficult for him to refuse their request. Chao Silu slightly frowned. Luo Muzi and Lun Fei's thoughts were slightly devious. If Wu Yihai could not showcase such a tea, the situation would be awkward. Even if he could, his reputation would suffer. The reason? Because this event was hosted by Chao Silu. Chao Clan's bewitching tea was the main tea, while other GU Immortals' teas were supplementary. The guests should not overshadow the host, this was an unwritten rule of the Moon Festival. Chao Clan might not care about it, but Wu Yihai's reputation would suffer. The righteous path was very concerned about reputation. Fang Yuan, however, had no hesitation. He directly took out 5 cups of tea and indicated to the others, please enjoy. Fairy Tian Lu's eyes brightened, being the first to pick up a cup. I am very curious as to what Lord Wu Yihai's tea is like. But the first person to drink the tea was not her, but Lun Fei. He looked somewhat hurried. This was the best opportunity to knock down his rival. As a food path GU Immortal, he was proficient in this aspect, how could he not take this opportunity? But with just 1 sip, he immediately frowned and spat it out. Pshaw, what rotten tea is this? Awful, too awful. Luo Muzi also took a sip before placing the cup down. This is the most revolting tea I have ever had in my life, it might even be worse than mortal tea. His tone was extremely impolite, with no hint of respect towards a rival. The two had firmly grasped the opportunity to attack Fang Yuan's reputation. Fairy Tianlu wanted to help mediate the situation, but after drinking it, she gave a helpless smile. This tea is salty and bitter, it is like seawater. Fang Yuan smiled and unexpectedly admitted, it is seawater. What, you actually brought seawater? Are you trying to shame Fairy Si Lu? Luo Muzi and Lun Fei quickly sent verbal attacks. The smile on Fang Yuan's face disappeared, replaced by solemnness. I don't like to drink tea. If I had to choose, this seawater would be my tea. You do not understand. I live the life of a secluded cultivator in Eastern Sea, an orphan with no one to rely on and with calamities and tribulations pressuring me at all times. Every day, I would wake up early and scoop a bowl of salty seawater to drink. This was to remind myself to not slack and continue persevering. The pavilion immediately fell into silence. Chao Silu slowly lifted her cup amidst this silence and took a sip, before slowly putting the cup down. She smiled, her rosy lips and white teeth seemed brighter than the beautiful moonlight. This is the most special tea I have had in my life, thank you, Yi Hai. This tea is good, I am truly moved. Luo Muzi and Lun Fei fell into silence seeing that the person they loved had responded like this. Chapter 13:18, Story of the Moon Festival. Are you kidding me? My 9 recollecting fragrances cannot even compare to a cup of seawater. Luo Muzi roared inwardly, while maintaining his calm appearance on the surface. Damn, this Wu Yihai is playing tricks and pulled a fast one. We are offering tea, yet he offers seawater. He is too shameless. Fairy Si Lu even approved of him, this is too infuriating. Veins started to bulge and Lun Fei's clenched fists below the table. Fairy Tianlu quickly calmed the situation. The moon is high in the sky, since we have already drunk tea, if there are no poems to accompany this festival, it would not be complete. Fang Yuan pretended to not understand. Are we really going to recite poems? He looked like he had heard it for the first time. Luo Muzi and Lun Fei's eyes immediately brightened. This was another opportunity. Another opportunity to knock down their rival. You managed to get away with it the previous time, duping your way through. This time, I am going to push you down from the limelight, then fiercely step on you a couple times. Luo Muzi's mind was revolving around this thought, but on the surface, he was still wearing a smile and had a graceful demeanor. The same went for Lun Fei, having similar thoughts. However, they did not know what kind of person Fang Yuan was. Competing in poetry, heavens, this was worse than showing off in front of an expert. Fang Yuan came from Earth, he had a large stockpile of traditional poems in his head, including those renowned works as well as earth-shaking masterpieces. He could easily use one of them and these two would be unable to save face. Yes, we are going to recite poems, there is a story behind this. Chao Silu answered Fang Yuan. Oh, please explain. Fang Yuan continued to ask. This is a story that has been passed down in southern border, and is also the origin of the Moon Festival. Chao Silu said with eloquence. Once upon a time, at a certain village in southern border, a young man fell in love with an old Gu master's daughter, and this Gu master's daughter also was in love with this mortal youth. The youth mustered up his courage to propose the marriage, but he was met with the old Gu master's rejection. You are only a mortal, while my daughter is a Gu master with a bright future, how could you be worthy of my daughter? Get lost. The young man implored and begged, but the old Gu master sneered, you are daydreaming, thinking I will let my daughter marry you. You, a mere mortal who cannot even brew tea. What use do you have? The youth replied, isn't it just tea? What is so difficult about it? If I brew it, will you marry your daughter to me? The old Gu master felt a headache. He knew his daughter loved this youth deeply. Forcefully breaking them up would only make his daughter hate him. If you can make a cup of tea that meets my expectations, I will give you a chance. The youth was joyous and agreed immediately. Sir, I will definitely make it. The Gu master daughter was extremely worried when she heard about this. My family is reputed for our famous tea, and you have to make a tea which can satisfy my father. You are only a mortal with no Gu master abilities, how can you brew a good tea? The young man, however, replied, don't worry. Who says mortals cannot brew tea? Let me tell you 3 principles. The first principle, the law of the jungle, big fish eats small fish, and small fish eats shrimps. Saying that, the young man walked to a stream and hooked a big fish, he cut the fish, retrieving a small fish inside, he then cut the small fish, and took out a shrimp from the inside. The second principle, humans need to eat and also need to defecate. The young man then ate the shrimp and pooped out a pile of feces. The third principle, feces can nourish vegetation to grow better. The young man buried his feces under the soil, and sure enough, flowers and plants started to flourish and grow. The young man plucked a kind of flower from among them and soaked it in the stream. The entire small stream turned into tea. The old Gu master could not speak for a long while after he took a sip of this tea. His daughter said, "Father, you are not thinking of reneging on your promise, right?" Only then did the old Gu master nod reluctantly. "Boy, you have passed the first test. But it is still impossible for you, Immortal, to marry my daughter. You are too crude and lack talent, you cannot recite poems." The youth scratched his head and spoke worriedly, "Although I have not recited poems before, I can give it a try." The old Gu master scoffed. "You?" The youth asked back, "Why can't I?" "Boy, reciting poems is not just casually chanting a few phrases. We Gu masters can cause heaven and earth to change by reciting poems, we can make humans dance with joy. Can you do that?" The youth said in a low tone. "How would I know if I don't give it a try?" "All right, then try, don't say I didn't give you a chance. If you fail, then you need to leave and never see my daughter again." The youth had no choice but to agree. He began to pace around, thinking of a poem to recite. But he had never recited a poem before, he had no clue how to start. At this moment, he saw the ants on the ground, he saw the birds and the setting sun outside the window. Suddenly, he patted his head. He began to recite. Sparrows fly low and snakes slither around, ants move their homes as it rains down. Southern border had many rainy days, and it was currently springtime as well. The youth had just finished speaking, when light rain began to appear in the sky. The old Gu master's expression changed. The youth continued, "A drop of spring rain resembles a drop of oil, too much of it sends us into turmoil." The rain got heavier and the sky turned dark. The old Gu master's expression was slightly unsightly. The youth grabbed his head and scratched his cheek. Elm trees droop as farming commences, hair falls as seeds scatter. At this point, the youth was stuck and for the life of him, he could not recite the final line. "I will give you some more time." The old Gu master sneered. The youth's eyes brightened as he pointed at the old Gu master and said, "Lord took away all the grains, our hungry stomachs are all in pain." The old Gu master immediately stomped his foot in anger and stood up, breaking the teacup in his hand. Then, he pointed at the young man and shouted, "A mere mortal dares to be so audacious." But his daughter laughed and clapped. "Amazing, this song changed heaven and earth, and even made father dance." The old Gu master was furious at seeing his daughter side with her boyfriend, but was unable to retort. "Good, good, good, consider that you have passed the second test, but there is still the final one. You want to marry my daughter, what about the betrothal gift? Can you take out a betrothal gift that can satisfy me?" The youth lowered his head dejectedly. He lived in a thatched cottage, slept on a straw mat and only had one set of patched clothes. "I will use all my assets as the betrothal gift." The youth spoke in a serious tone. "Let me see them," the old Gu master said. The young man brought the old Gu master to his residence, to that old thatched cottage. He then said, "These are all my assets. This old hut with holes everywhere." The old Gu master pointed with disdain. "This straw mat that is about to break." The old Gu master threw the straw mat. "These rocks used as stools." The old Gu master kicked the rocks and broke them. The youth lowered his head. Every sentence the old Gu master said made the young man's head lower further down. When the old Gu master said his third sentence, the youth's head had almost hung down to his chest. But right at this time, from a rock the old Gu master has kicked open, a beautiful Gu worm that looked like the moon flew out leisurely, shining brightly. The old Gu master was stunned. The youth was also stunned. He had picked up this rock casually from the base of the mountain. The old Gu master's daughter cried out happily, "This Gu worm is definitely enough as the betrothal gift, right?" The old Gu master was unable to retort, he could not say anything and finally, he could only rub his nose and marry his daughter to this mortal lad. Fang Yuan had already heard of this story before, it was indeed interesting. The story portrayed a conflict between a mortal and a Gu master, and actually ended up with the mortal's victory. The youth had braved through the 3 hurdles, finally getting together with the beauty, who was also a Gu master. The old Gu master had not used strength from start to finish, this did not conform to logic. It, however, showed a lowly mortal's thirst towards a better life, as well as pursuing happiness. Chao Silu narrated the story to Fang Yuan, conveniently explaining the customs of the Moon Festival as well. Why it was that during the Moon Festival, the people in southern border, be they Gu immortals or mortals, would make tea, recite poems and dissect rocks. Naturally, the tea brewing of mortals was done with ordinary tea leaves, and as for dissecting rocks, it was replaced by breaking pebbles as a way of receiving auspicious blessings. This is quite an interesting story, thank you, Fairy Silu, for answering my doubts. Fang Yuan said, politely. Chao Silu smiled. Why are you so polite, you can just call me Silu. Huh, Luo Muzi's eyes opened wide. Chao Silu's attitude towards Wu Yihai was completely different from how she treated the two of them. We have had tea already, now let us recite poems. Lun Fei said, his gaze towards Fang Yuan flashed with some coldness and his tone had also turned somewhat icier. Chao Silu's beautiful eyes turned towards Lun Fei. Lun Fei, you are already eager, I am very interested to listen to your masterpiece. Lun Fei laughed happily, the coldness on his face completely dissipated as he replied, then let me recite my simple work. He stood up and slowly walked outside the pavilion as he recited. Stepping into society as an ignorant youngster. Step by step I walk by myself. But tonight I do not drink alone. Because my dream beauty is here under the moon. Lun Fei, in his blue robe and with fair appearance, recited slowly. The first two lines described his cultivation experiences, hinting at his lonely journey. The last two lines described the current situation, especially the last line, it was an implicit confession. He had walked out of the pavilion, and after his recital, he returned inside, gazing deeply at Chao Silu. Chao Silu sensed the passion in his eyes and quickly turned around to look at Fang Yuan. However, Fang Yuan neither looked at her nor showed hostility towards Lun Fei, he was just quietly drinking tea. A trace of disappointment flashed past Chao Silu's eyes. Chapter 13-19, Poem Competition. Good poem, good poem. Fairy Tian Lu laughed charmingly. Especially the last line, my dream beauty is here under the moon, it was truly beautiful. I think it is definitely talking about me, hee hee. She improvised a humorous remark, easing the atmosphere in the pavilion. Lun Fei gave a helpless and bitter smile, sitting down again, please don't mind my crude creation, it is hardly presentable. Lun Fei, you are too modest, I have a poem as well. Luo Muzi said. Oh, we would love to hear it. Chao Silu smiled, looking at Luo Muzi with anticipation. Luo Muzi turned silent for a moment before slowly reciting. Climbed mountains to seek immortality. Danger present in every step. Dust specks float like light. Dark Gu lurk in heart. A dream like golden jade. Thousands of years of loneliness. 5 regions and 9 heavens. Everything is in one breath. The concept and imagination in this poem with 5 words in each line immediately moved the Gu immortals. They carefully savored it. Climbed mountains to seek immortality, referred to a Gu immortal's cultivation. Danger present in every step, Gu immortals needed to deal with calamities and tribulations in their cultivation, devoting all their effort in managing their immortal aperture. It was like climbing a mountain, the higher they reached, the more dangerous it became. Dust specks float like light, the meaning was that time was always passing by, and in the mortal world, dust gathered on people and people were like floating dust. Dark Gu lurk in heart, on the surface, it referred to Gu immortals storing immortal Gu and mortal Gu in their immortal apertures. But the Gu immortals present had deep background in literature, they could already savor the deeper meaning. Dark Gu referred to darkness, setbacks, failures, compromises, disappointments, and other negative feelings. Mortals thought immortals had good lives, but immortals faced difficulties they did not know. Just look at the living beings in the world, who was truly free and unfettered. Gu immortals endured huge pressure in their cultivation, it was unavoidable for them to have negative feelings, even immortal venerables and demon venerables were not an exception. Climbed mountains to seek immortality, danger present in every step. Dust specks float like light, dark Gu lurk in heart. These phrases were brief but contained profound meaning, which when carefully considered, resonated greatly with Gu immortals. The lines after this, a dream like golden jade, thousands of years of loneliness, it referred to golden jade, all kinds of wealth, being superficial objects and just like dreams. As time passes, love, hatred, and all feelings disappear. It showed how the poet looked indifferently at the changes in the world, that their mind was free from mortal emotions. The final phrase, 5 regions and 9 heavens, everything is in one breath, was filled with vigor and majesty, sweeping away the gloominess and heaviness from the previous lines. There were several other meanings to it, as long as humans had one breath left in them they were living, when they lose this breath, they would die. People strived and fought for that one breath. Using the world as an analogy, Gu immortal cultivation was just like the pillars holding up the 5 regions and 9 heavens, everyone was just working hard to support themselves. The entire poem was slow at first before it became faster in momentum, creating a majestic scene that filled the listeners with admiration. For a moment, the pavilion was filled with silence, the immortals quietly ruminating over this poem. Chao Si-lu thought to herself, strange, from my understanding of Luo Muzi, how could he create such a poem with his nature? He probably stole someone else's work, he also did not say it was his creation. She sized up Luo Muzi. Luo Muzi looked calm on the surface, sitting upright as he quietly drank his tea, but the smile on his lips gave away his inner feelings. Chao Si-lu inwardly smiled, but did not expose him. She then turned her sight towards Fang Yuan. Fang Yuan's expression was unexpectedly strange. This is Qi Ju's 5 words poem. How is it possible? Didn't demon immortal Qi Ju's grotto heaven only appear when dream realms flourished in the 5 regions' chaotic war? Strange, strange, strange. Demon immortal Qi Ju was a great expert from the olden antiquity era, a rank 8 GU immortal with immense battle strength who had once fought limitless demon Venerable 3 times. The results were a win, a draw, and a loss. Naturally, the first 2 battles were when limitless demon Venerable had yet to advance to rank 9. And, in the final battle, limitless demon Venerable had advanced to rank 9, surpassing demon immortal Qi Ju. But the battle had still lasted for 9 days and 9 nights, before the latter was defeated. However, limitless demon Venerable did not kill demon immortal Qi Ju and let him go. Limitless demon Venerable had said this at the time, you were my biggest enemy, but without you, I would not have trained so desperately. You also had a hand in pushing me towards my current cultivation level. Having received the recognition and praise of a grand demon Venerable, demon immortal Qi Ju's name was marked in history. The grotto heaven left after his death had lasted until the present. In Fang Yuan's first life, dream realms manifested one after another during the 5 regions' chaotic war, regional walls disappeared and the 5 regions turned into one. Such a huge change created a turbulence in heaven and earth Qi, exposing many hidden blessed lands and grotto heavens to the outside world. Demon immortal Qi Ju's grotto heaven was revealed in such a situation. Undoubtedly, the moment it appeared, it caused an uproar in the 5 regions. That shouldn't be. Simple logic is that Qi Ju's 5 words poem was engraved in Qi Ju grotto heaven. How did Luo Muzi know of it at this time? Could it be, he has already entered Qi Ju grotto heaven? Fang Yuan's thoughts became somewhat chaotic for a moment. Qi Ju grotto heaven contained the demon immortal's true inheritance. This demon immortal was on the same level as sword immortal Bo Qing, even He Fan paled in comparison to him. If I could obtain this true inheritance, will I obtain Qi Ju's true inheritance by killing this Luo Muzi? Intense killing intent rose in Fang Yuan's mind once again. Without knowing Fang Yuan's thoughts, Luo Muzi gave a challenging glance to Fang Yuan. I wonder what great work Wu Yihai has. We are really looking forward to it. That is natural. Lun Fei quickly chipped in. Lord Wu Yihai's origin is not ordinary, he has plenty of experiences and what's more, Eastern Sea is very rich in resources. I can't compare to the scholarly attainment of Wu Yihai. These 2 praised Fang Yuan with pleasant words, but their thoughts were anything but good. Chao Si-lu was well aware of it. At this moment, she did not protect Fang Yuan but stared at Fang Yuan and encouraged him. I also really want to listen to your poem, I am sure it will definitely be interesting and special. Yes, yes, Fairy Tian Lu quickly agreed. For a moment, Fang Yuan was pressured by everyone, he rubbed his nose and gave a forced smile. Friends, you are all overestimating me, how could I have poems, I don't know how to make any. Wu Yihai, you are modest. Too modest. Luo Muzi laughed. Fang Yuan shrugged. I am telling the truth, I did not even know we would have to recite poems to appreciate the moon. Since that is the case, Wu Yihai, why don't you make one right now? It should be a wonderful work, don't worry if it takes a bit of time, we are all willing to wait. Lun Fei said, not letting Fang Yuan off. Fang Yuan heaved a deep sigh. Of course, he had a lot of poems in his head. There was many poems praised since ancient times from Earth, he could casually copy any of those famous stanzas, it would be enough for this occasion and resolve the difficulties from these GU immortals. But so what? Fang Yuan gazed around. Luo Muzi and Lun Fei loved Chao Si-lu, they naturally considered Fang Yuan an eyesore, both had come to a tacit agreement to work together and knock down their rival. What good would it do for him to contend with such losers? Fairy Tian Lu was Chao Si-lu's best friend and was indeed working hard, helping Chao Si-lu wholeheartedly. As for her lover, he did not speak much and was silent most of the time, quietly drinking tea from the side, this showed how astute he was. As for Chao Si-lu, This fairy had both appearance and background, and was one of the 3 great beauties of southern border. She naturally had her pride. Chao clan might have ordered her to approach Fang Yuan, but she had her own methods. She had thought meticulously in hosting this moon festival today. She had thought out everything, not only taking care of small details like seating order, she had also brought her best friend to help her, and an even more brilliant move was that she had invited Lun Fei and Luo Muzi to take part in the event. When 2 men compete with each other over a girl, even if she was a pig, they would think she is awesome. Only when one wins and the other is out of the competition, and when the victor looks at this pig, he will then realize, oh, this was a pig after all. This was rather exaggerated, but the logic was similar. When a competitor appears, it would make the girl who is being pursued seem even more precious and more valuable. Chao Silu was well aware of this logic, so she made this arrangement to evoke Fang Yuan's thoughts and make him take the initiative to pursue her, then she could conveniently agree and hook Fang Yuan in. If it were the real Wu Yihai, perhaps he might have already fallen into the planning of beauty. Unfortunately, the one she was facing was Fang Yuan. Fang Yuan remained unmoved the whole time because he knew the relation between Wu clan and Chao clan, and also the scheme of Chao clan's higher-ups. With this understanding, Fang Yuan was in a strategically superior and stable position, while Luo Muzi and Lun Fei were no more than roadside clowns. When Fang Yuan sized up the GU Immortals in the pavilion, the GU Immortals were also focusing their gazes on him. There was silence in the pavilion. This silence was no doubt a kind of pressure. Luo Muzi and Lun Fei want to embarrass me. Chao Silu also wants me to accept the challenge. Maybe she is feeling a little upset. After all, for such a beauty, the seawater was too rude. As for Fairy Tian Lu, she is completely on Chao Silu's side, and is nothing to worry about. Fang Yuan thought of all this, smiling inwardly as he said, then let me recite one, don't laugh at me. We are all ears. We are looking forward to it. Luo Muzi and Lun Fei were all smiles. At the next moment, the immortals heard Fang Yuan's poem. O great sea, you are made of water. O horse, you have 4 legs. O beauty, you have large eyes and a mouth. The poem ended. The entire pavilion was silent. Everyone's expression seemed to have stiffened. Even Chao Silu and Fairy Tian Lu were no exception. This what the FCK? This is a poem. This is rubbish. This Wu Yihai is an utter boor. What nonsense is this? Appreciating the moon and reciting poems, it was an elegant event, now it is completely ruined. The GU Immortals were unanimously screaming internally. Fang Yuan was all smiles as he looked at Chao Silu. I wonder if Fairy Silu is satisfied. Satisfied? Screw you. You still have the nerves to ask this question. You are simply too outrageous. Luo Muzi and Lun Fei roared inwardly, but being mindful of their bearing, they showed nothing on the surface. The pavilion was still a scene of silence. Hey hee hee, Chao Silu laughed, even though it sounded very forced. This poem is really special, to tell the truth, I have never heard such a poem. It is indeed worthy of being your creation now that I carefully consider it, it is actually quite funny. Luo Muzi, Lun Fei, Chapter 1320. Please, evaluate. Luo Muzi and Lun Fei were utterly speechless. They wanted to criticize Fang Yuan, but Chao Silu had made such a remark. If they criticized now, would they not be embarrassing Chao Silu? Luo Muzi and Lun Fei felt like they had swallowed a housefly but were unable to spit it out. It was unbearable. Fang Yuan was laughing on the inside as he gazed around. Chao Silu was forcefully maintaining her smile, while Fairy Tian Lu gazed at her concernedly, her gaze seemingly containing some sympathetic feeling. As Chao Silu's best friend, how could Fairy Tian Lu not know of her intention? It was just that Fang Yuan did not take the bait at all, making them be unable to do anything. As for Luo Muzi and Lun Fei, they had such stiff expressions that it was quite funny. Fang Yuan looked at these two. How was it? My poem was not bad, right? Not bad. Luo Muzi's and Lun Fei's eyes immediately opened wide as they looked at Fang Yuan, seemingly wanting to see how shameless this person could possibly get. But immediately afterwards, they heard Fang Yuan speak. Although I had a flash of inspiration, it seems a true masterpiece poem is also created like this. Silu really approves of my poem, but I still would like to hear your constructive feedback. Constructive feedback? This dog shit thing can be considered a poem. You want feedback? Silu, why are you speaking of her so closely? You scumbag, hey, who let you address her so intimately? Luo Muzi and Lun Fei were madly raving inside their minds. But they could not lose their temper, they had to evaluate it and give good remarks just like Chao Silu's words so that they would not embarrass her. This disgusted them even more than eating a housefly. Fang Yuan was clearly their rival in love, and it was also garbage that could not be considered a poem, but Luo Muzi and Lun Fei still needed to evaluate it and give nice comments. This poem, it is clear, easy to understand and easy to read. Luo Muzi stammered, his expression was becoming increasingly unsightly and he felt like he was going to vomit. Fang Yuan nodded with a smile, then turned towards Lun Fei. What do you think? Lun Fei saw Fang Yuan staring at him, the corners of his lips were raised slightly in a smile and seemed to be twitching. He insipidly remarked, "This is a good poem." Fang Yuan's eyebrows rose. How could he let this person off so easily? He pursued, "What is so good about it?" Lun Fei was furious, his face flushed red with anger as he screamed internally, "How would I know what's good about it? There is nothing good about it. You created this garbage and still want to be praised. You scumbag." Looking at Fang Yuan's smiling expression, Lun Fei had an intense urge to smash the teacup on Fang Yuan's face. It would really appease his anger. But he could not do that. Chao Silu was right beside them. If Lun Fei did that, what would happen to Chao Silu's face? Wouldn't he embarrass this fairy? Moreover, he was not like Luo Muzi, he was a lone immortal. By contrast, Wu Yihai had a noble status, he was in Wu clan, and was the younger brother of Wu Yong. Lun Fei could only restrain his anger as he racked his brains to think of words for evaluating Fang Yuan's poem. "I am really pleased with this Moon Appreciation Festival, never had I thought I am talented in composing poems." Fang Yuan smiled at Chao Silu, his gaze full of deep meaning. Chao Silu's mind shook slightly as she smiled. "Next is rock dissecting, maybe you will have a huge harvest." Indeed, I am also most expectant towards this event, let us dissect rocks." Fairy Tian Lu quickly helped to change the subject. "I have prepared a huge amount of rocks here for everyone to choose. Please." Chao Silu naturally had come prepared, with Chao clan as her background, gathering some rocks was of course not a troubling matter. The mood in the pavilion eased. Luo Muzi and Lun Fei also let out sighs of relief, at least they no longer needed to praise Fang Yuan's poem against their own will. The rocks prepared by Chao Silu were of all sizes, the GU Immortals chose them one after the other and dissected them on the spot to see if there were any GU worms inside. As far as mortal GU was concerned, it was very easy for GU Immortals to get them. As such, the atmosphere was relaxed, unlike the seriousness when GU Masters dissected rocks. Naturally, this only applied to mortal GU. If a mortal GU were involved, this rock dissecting activity would be given serious attention by GU Immortals. GU Immortals had a lot of methods to check whether a rock had mortal GU or not. However, in today's event, they naturally would not use their methods to cheat and only relied on their insight and luck. As for rocks that had immortal GU, they could only be found by chance and not through seeking. The investigative methods of GU Immortals were deficient and without options in regard to such rocks. Trying to get an immortal GU in tonight's event would be wishful thinking and unrealistic. No one present had such expectations as this was only meant to be an entertaining event. It was just that this entertainment held different meaning to Luo Muzi and Lun Fei compared to the past. They were secretly contending with Fang Yuan, but the result was they were almost at the verge of coughing out blood. Fang Yuan's rock dissecting results had maintained first place from start to finish. Rock dissecting relied on the GU Master's discerning eye. Fang Yuan naturally did not lack in this aspect, he had even started his own rock gambling den in his first life. As for luck, was Fang Yuan's luck bad? Not to mention he had connected his luck with several other lucky people, he himself had dogshit luck immortal GU to help him. However, although Fang Yuan obtained victory, it was a rather close one. He maintained superiority from the start, but this superiority was not obvious at times. The one who exerted such strong pressure on him was Luo Muzi. This person was not a lone immortal, he came from one of Southern Border's super forces, Luo clan. His insight was very sharp, and most importantly, his luck was quite good, his results were only slightly inferior to Fang Yuan. Looks like his luck is quite good. Otherwise, he would not have known about Qi Ju's 5 words poem, isn't that right? Fang Yuan thought to himself. It would not be troubling for him to make a move against Lun Fei, but to target Luo Muzi, he had to worry about Luo clan. Naturally, no matter what he decided to do, Wu Yihai's identity absolutely could not be implicated. By the time the Moon Appreciation Festival ended, it was already deep into the night. Everyone bid their farewells one after the other, the scene was quite lively. "I will see you off." Chao Silu took the initiative to see Fang Yuan off. Luo Muzi's and Lun Fei's eyes flushed red. Let's go. Luo Muzi and Lun Fei were originally competitors and found one another an eyesore, but through the course of tonight's event, they had instead reached a tacit agreement. The 4 GU Immortals left the pavilion successively, leaving behind Fairy Tianlu and her lover. Sigh. Fairy Tianlu sighed. Tonight's Moon Appreciation Festival was so tiring. Nothing to be done about it. Her lover also sighed, his gaze clear and bright. Both held each other's hands and smiled as they stepped on the clouds and left. This Wu Yihai is a complete boor. What in the world did he compose? Can that thing even be called a poem? Luo Muzi was burning with rage. But Fairy Si Lu actually has a completely different view of him. Lun Fei gritted his teeth. HMPH, what different view? His greatest worth is his identity. Luo Muzi said in a slightly envious tone. Lun Fei's expression was malevolent. I cannot take this lying down, I cannot let Wu Yihai continue living so happily. On their way, Luo Muzi and Lun Fei conversed heatedly. Oh, what idea do you have? Wu clan might be facing difficulties from all sides and they might lack the initiative, but they still have the ability to maintain their status. If you want to make a move against Wu Yihai, you will have to consider Wu clan. Whether it be publicly or privately, Wu Yang will stand behind Wu Yihai. We need to take this relationship properly into account. Luo Muzi spoke. He was a righteous path GU Immortal and was aware of the difficulty here. If they overestimated their relationship, they would not be able to cause any harm to Wu Yihai. But if they underestimated it, who would be able to bear Wu clan's retribution? Lun Fei curled his lips as he thought. Righteous path GU Immortals have to worry about everything. On the other hand, the demonic path can directly take action. However, Lun Fei was not a demonic cultivator, he was a lone cultivator who was more inclined towards the righteous path. Lun Fei sneered as a sinister light flashed in his eyes. We don't need to personally make a move. Fairy Si Lu has a lot of pursuers, not just us two. We can inform that person, he will definitely be furious because Fairy Si Lu did not invite him this time. You are talking about that guy from Kai clan. Luo Muzi's expression became slightly complex. That GU Immortal from Kai clan was the biggest pursuer of Chao Si Lu. Before tonight, Luo Muzi greatly loathed him. But now, he was about to make use of his strength to teach a lesson to Wu Yihai. Although Wu Yihai won against Sha Fei Kuei, it was because he relied on his knowledge of the enemy. If he was strong, why would he have to discuss any conditions with that mountain-moving old monster? He could have directly seized back Mount Snail. That guy from Kai clan is definitely stronger than Wu Yihai, moreover, he hates it when others have any desire towards Fairy Si Lu. Lun Fei continued. Luo Muzi's gaze became resolute. Alright, we will inform Kai Shang of today's matter. Chao Si Lu accompanied Fang Yuan for a distance before she bid a reluctant farewell to Fang Yuan. But she did not directly return to Chao clan's headquarters, instead returning to the pavilion. Inside the pavilion, there was a GU Immortal sitting on a rock chair and quietly drinking bewitching tea. This person was Chao clan's first Supreme Elder, the crucial character who had helped Fang Yuan return to Wu clan previously. Chao clan's first Supreme Elder slowly put down the teacup. Although Wu Yihai grew up in Eastern Sea, he is after all Wu Dushu's son. So what do you think? Chao Si Lu's gaze was slightly dim as she softly said, I agree. Fang Yuan targeted Luo Muzi and Lun Fei, forcing them to say his poem was good, but in fact it was an indirect attack on Chao Si Lu. Chao Si Lu was well aware that this was the way of a righteous path confrontation, it was all smiles and jovial on the surface but was actually a maelstrom of dark undercurrents. Chao clan's first Supreme Elder sighed. Our Chao clan has all along been allies with Wu clan, but we have never been able to penetrate deep into their core. For the sake of Chao clan, Wu Yihai is a huge opportunity, do you understand? Chao Si Lu bit her lips, her gaze containing reluctance, but she still nodded in the end, I understand.